And we're live. Bam.
We're live. Oh shit.
And now we're both here.
I know. People are gonna be able to see me. Holy shit.
This has been such a great learning experience. I also I didn't mean to upload my first bit of the stream, but it just got uploaded anyway, so I'm just gonna leave it there and maybe delete it later or just keep it because it's kind of funny. I don't know. It's a good little advertisement, little bump for the thing. Okay, and I have it open in my browser now here too.
Okay.
And wait a minute. Oh yeah, it does show both of us. It shows both of us. It shows both of us.
It does.
That's right. Bam. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
I opened it up and I saw myself, so I'm like, oh shit. Oh, there we go. Nice. Okay.
All right, so both of our friends who are total fucking hipsters who make it to my fucking live stream as soon as I start uploading it. Both all the two people who are like, oh shit, Space Fan streaming, of course I'm gonna fucking see that. Like
well, at least you're popular to someone. That's all that matters, you know.
It is, you know, because the way I see it is like I'm one person. So if one person appreciates it, that's kind of like me appreciating it, you know? Like
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Fat Samurai Productions. Hi.
Oh yeah, that's Gabe. That's Gabe. He had his birthday the other day. Happy belated and a happy. All right, maybe you're Jesus actually, because it's like Christmas Eve, and then your birthday was like the day before, and I don't know. It's a retarded joke.
Oh, good. Well, it's nice because I can actually see myself now on there, so you know that's good. There's a positive there, and I'm sure they can hear me then.
And I'm gonna get this out of the way right away. I know there was a little bit of recent drama, and it's Christmas, so we're just no drama. We're just talking about Christmas stuff. We're talking about reviewing 2018. Anything that happened in 2018 that isn't like bullshit, retarded internet drama. That's what's on the table. That's the kind of stuff we're going to talk about. And we're just going to
a lot of shit in half. Like.
Well, I mean, it's a lot of shit's happened. A lot of shit's happened. So I think we need to set a little bit of a boundary because that'll at least make it a doable endeavor. Because what I started doing on that stream when no one was listening is I decided I want to like go through my Twitter feed backwards and just find anything noteworthy that happened in 2018, and then I want to see if I can make it to 2017.
Oh, so okay. Well, obviously the most important thing we have to discuss is how Rudolph is a horrible movie for kids.
Oh, that was a thing. That made me really sad to see actually, because. That's always been one of my favorite Christmas movies, like all the time. You know, like you got Nightmare Before Christmas, which is like simultaneously the best Halloween and Christmas movie. It is both. You know, but that Rudolph movie is fantastic. It's so good.
So
but of course, it's also problematic. Of course.
Yeah. Well, that actually is what confused me. I mean, I get a little bit of it, but it also ultimately confuses me because. Why the left is flipping out about Rudolph. I mean, I get how they see like his father is misogynist, you know, is sexist, misogynistic, and you know, and all this stuff. But the whole entire premise of this movie is that Rudolph, what makes him different, what makes him unique, is what saves the day. I mean, what more of a left-leaning message did they want? A diversity message do they want? This is about diversity, accepting the difference. You know, so I don't understand the flip out. I watched the video, which by the way, okay, so I forget which one made the video. Was it Huffington Post or whatever? But they are getting lazy as fuck. Making a video where all you have is words. I mean, why? They used to at least have someone, you know, there talking and expressing their views. Now they're just showing clips from Rudolph, and they have a bunch of, you know, words about, you know, what's offensive. You're getting lazy.
Yeah. I know that style of video, right? Where it's like there's kind of this ominous, kind of dramatic music, or it's like inquisitive kind of music, right? Very percussive, and like, and it has just like the text over things moving, and it's like it's at such a slow rate that like I don't like to read. Like I don't read books. Books are gay. I don't fucking care. Like I can keep up with that shit, and I think it's too slow. I'm just like, how retarded are people that this is like where it's come to now? I guess it's either that or fucking like NAS Daily. So I guess I'd rather have nobody fucking talk at me. At least then if it auto plays into that fucking garbage, it's just some like generic retarded fucking instrumental shit. You know? So, I know I'm throw on that phone, but my god.
I know I'm a simple
you're right
redneck.
for Huffington Post. My goodness.
Yeah, I know I'm a simple redneck, but that seems boring as fuck. You know, just like stupid as fuck. You know, it's just. I don't know, but regardless, so they flip out about Rudolph, a story that is the epitome of diversity and accepting diversity, accepting that which is different, and that which is different, saving the day. So that is the point of the story of Rudolph, yet the left doesn't like it. They flip out about it, you know, so we have that. Okay, so we go with that.
I want to comment on that a little bit, though, because there's two things about it. Like, so the Rudolph story, it's a wonderful Christmas story because it's a story of forgiveness. It's a major forgiveness anthem because Rudolph could have just been like, fuck you, people. I'm going to fucking do my own shit. I don't fucking need you, right? Like, Rudolph could have, right? But he was totally happy towards them anyway. And, like, to me, that's actually the moral that's bad about Rudolph. Like, I feel like this unconditional forgiveness fetish like needs to die. Like I think that people should be held accountable more. Like that's my Christmas message, everybody. Fuck forgiveness. Fuck it.
That legitimately is pretty much. It's about forgiving those who have done wrong unto you, which I will admit is not my strong suit in many ways, but
Rudolph's the bigger man. He's the bigger man.
Exactly. So
but you know what? The bigger man is always a loser. The bigger man is always a loser.
It's the whole
psychology.
Yeah, it's the nice guys finish last concept. But I mean, I don't know. So to me, the left flipping out about Rudolph is just completely pointless because it is the embodiment of accepting diversity and diversity. You know, that which is different, saving the day. So the left is on a special brand of crack right now when it comes to Rudolph. Now, and then you've got, okay, so I will admit this. For years now, and I've only done it jokingly, Baby It's Cold Outside, I have always jokingly referred to it as the date rape song. I just always have because I've just found it funny.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, I was like a kind of an adult. I was in college. I was working part-time at Hallmark, and that was the first time I'd heard "Baby It's Cold Outside." And I was listening to the lyrics, and I thought, like, this song's kind of rapey. You know, I was blue pilled at this time. This was like, you know, when I was in college, I was not at all in tune to any of the men's issues. So I kind of.
Oh my goodness! We got. Do you see who we got here? Can we get some audio? Is that Melissa? Is that also Pro-Mail? Wait, we got some shit going on here.
We got the crazy shit.
Oh, damn.
She came. I'm so happy.
I don't know. I haven't I have not streamed with this bitch in quite some time. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know.
It looks like you're armed and primed with an alcoholic drink there. So I think you're all right.
I am.
Right. We came prepared.
Melissa, it's the bloody C that you made fun of earlier on social media, okay? Well, it's the blood.
I didn't really make fun of it per se. I kind of just commented that something called a bloody pirate sounds like something a feminist would pick up. Tell me.
Oh man,
you didn't tell me I was wrong. You didn't tell me I was wrong.
How are you wrong? Were you wrong because you tried and it was delicious?
No. I said
I know feminists are obsessed with their bleeding vaginas. So
although I was honest when I said my mind was not in the gutter when I named it. Seriously, when I was naming it, I thought, okay, the cranberry juice, the black cherry juice and the cider, they turn it red. when I put the Captain Morgan. Captain Morgan is a pirate. Pirates are out on the sea, so I called it a bloody sea.
Totally innocent. Totally
It was
innocent.
totally
But you know
innocent.
what? But the way Melissa's telling the story, this is not the story you told me. When we were off air, you were like, she made fun of my drink and she was so mean about it, and she called me
a bitch. She was horrible.
so mean about it. She was just horrible.
She was horrible.
I mean, I
horrible.
am a terrible person, but
She's a terrible person.
I am a terrible person, but you know.
She's horrible.
But
it brought me back to a few months ago.
We were talking about Rudolph and the morals of it, though, and like it is a really funny phenomenon. Oh, and baby, it's cold outside. Like when I first heard this, I actually did think like, yeah, this sounds kind of like whatever. Because like at my college, when we first came there, part of like our I was gonna say indoctrination, part of our like matriculation and getting into the college and everything is they make all the freshmen watch this play called Until Someone Wakes Up. And we all called it the rape play because that's what it was. It was the rape play. It was this play about rape and about people being raped. It was just a dramatic rape thing, and it like scares everybody and blah blah blah. Right? So like that totally like was the mindset. Like even if you weren't in like a social justice-y major, they like really found a way to kind of cheat it in there, you know. But I didn't hear Baby It's Cold Outside until I was like over 18 when I heard it, and I was listening to that, and I had that lens that I was thinking of it. So like. All the people freaking out about it, part of me was kind of like, why now? Like, shouldn't this have been so long ago? And it seems like they picked the worst time possible to freak out over it because now, like, feminism has jumped the shark so much that now everyone just thinks it's, like, bullshit, which is great. Well, like, had they done it 5 years prior, it might have actually, like, had traction, you know?
I mean, I for one, like it when, like, just... in general, the left goes off the rails because, I mean, I don't even have to make an argument at that point. I just got to point and go, look, is this what you want running your country?
Oh, absolutely.
I don't even have to make an argument. Like,
absolutely. I made a post about an article where So recently, now, with feminism, right? Because Melissa and I have had many conversations about feminism. I once had Melissa sit through an article of modern-day feminism that I read to her. She enjoyed this. Her heart grew. She embraced it. No.
I mean, growing, do you mean like it grew more dark and cold? Like, I'm just... trying to figure out the word growing. Like we need a definition for what you're working with here.
Your heart warmed up to it, and you decided to go out and hug a feminist.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
That is definitely 3 sizes larger. If you're read that right? That's on the great scale.
Do we have a link to the? What do you call it? The YouTube channel, which is showing on?
Oh, for my channel?
Oh, it's on your channel?
Yeah, it's on my
Space
channel.
Pan, yep.
Because it's not showing up on my thingamajig.
Because we're on the
no, I know for a fact I was
subscribed
to you, Space Pan. I know for a fact I was.
Ooh, there's a conspiracy theory going on here.
No, there's no conspiracy theory about it. Like right on my creator studio, they told me they like got rid of some of my subscribers. Like I'm not even BS.
Shit.
Yeah, here, let me.
No, I saw a message like that too, where they said like you may see fewer viewers because we're cutting down on spam, and I'm just like, I wish I had spam. I don't fucking care. Like,
I'll take spam. I'm trashy enough to enjoy spam. Oh wait, are we talking about the food or what?
Oh yeah, go figure. I can't see it now, but. No, I went from like 480 subs to like 455, something like that. Like I'm not even. Yeah, I'm not talking shit like at all.
I like slowly get new subscribers trickling in, and then I make a new video like being really critical of religion, lose a bunch of people, which is like I'm like I deserve that. Like I get it. Like it's You know, you kill sacred cows all the time. You're gonna piss people off, you know. And like my channel's not one thing, so it's like bound to like the only people who are gonna stick around are people who are like on board with the ANCAP shit or can at least tolerate it, and the anti-feminists and the atheists, you know. And that's like three kind of semi-unpopular cross sections all put on top of each other. So
yeah, do you
ever
play this fun game? Yeah.
Like,
do you ever play this fun game when you make a video? So you post a video and then you lose subs, but you gain subs. And you're like, let's play this game of what about this video caused me to lose people? And what about this video caused me to gain people? Like my most recent video, which I had been pretty much inactive for about a month. I had done some live streams and stuff, but my channel's getting more active now. I have a lot of shit coming up. But I have been very inactive and I had lost a lot of subscribers for a while. Now, I posted my most recent video, which is called, you know, child drag is child abuse. And I lost some people, but then I gained some people. And I'm like, I wonder what part of this is what caused me to lose and gain.
I mean, I don't make, like, whatever videos I make, like, I just make whatever I feel like making, right? And if people fuck off, they fuck off, right? My issue isn't with that. My issue is with when YouTube comes in and gets rid of like 30 plus subscribers because they're quote unquote cutting back on spam, like whatever that means. Because Twitter did the same thing, and I lost a lot, tons of followers when I had a Twitter account, and then lo and behold, what comes out of the woodworks? Oh, they were just banning anybody who had approaching a right-wing view on something, right? Like, and that's where my issue comes in.
Yeah, I mean, it's ill. So, oh god, I'm about to burp like crazy. It's just interesting because I don't know. I've had a lot of my friends get, you know, banned, especially from Facebook and, you know, and other social media and censored and stuff. I'm seeing a little bit more increasing with some of my friends who are a little bit more left-leaning, but I will admit I see it a lot more on the right. And it's just with in regards to my friends who are religious, because I'm not particularly a fan of organized religion. Melissa and I have definitely discussed this in depth in regards to our views on religion. But I have to say, it just amazes me when it comes to the left how much they flip out now. And I remember when it was about, you know, supposedly building bridges and having discussions, even with those you don't agree with. I remember sitting directly across from someone at a table who was telling me that they believed I'm a sinner and I'm going to ultimately burn in hell. Yet we actually had a discussion. So it's just for me, the left, I don't know. I mean, I was formerly very much, you know, self-identified feminist, self-identified leftist.
I just want to say for the record, I've almost got you converted to the dark side. I got you voted libertarian. So
you got me voting libertarian.
Just a little bit more, and like you're gonna become my apprentice. Okay, like
yeah, but is it gonna be like a boring like Trump apprentice or like Magician's Apprentice? Because Magician's Apprentice seems so much more interesting. Or
no,
I don't know.
I want to be
Vampire's Apprentice. There we go.
No. See, I'm the commandant of the right-wing death squad. Okay, so like I almost got you there. Like you're almost there.
Oh, no, yeah, like funny. I'm almost the light relative to that dark. I mean, like, because I still want like Ancapistan and for all of that, like, kind of like it gets called utopian. I don't think it's necessarily utopian, but once you get black pilled enough, then you just go like full all right. You're just like, nope, it has to be an ethno state. It has to be.
Oh no,
I'm resisting it. I'm still resisting it a little bit. I'm just like, maybe not. Maybe we don't need it yet.
Well, evidently on my Discord, my Discord is getting passed around in alt-right circles, which I don't fucking know why, but if an alt-righter finds his way into my Discord, we're really not going to agree on much.
Yeah, I and alt-right with me, it's just a no. I mean, ultimately, as soon as I start talking about the best dick sucking methods, they just tend, I lose them. But it's I don't know. I ultimately, though, it's funny because you mentioned like during the last election. Here's the irony for me is that Trump getting elected, even though at the end of the day, I'm not really a fan of Trump at the end of the day. Interesting enough, Trump getting elected woke me up to a lot of the bullshit on the left. And it made me more center than I had been in a very long time. And this last election cycle, I actually voted for Democrat, Libertarian, and Republican candidates. And it was
shame.
Well, no, that's the thing is I actually became less about tribalism than I was before, interestingly enough, as a result of what has happened since Trump was elected president. Because a lot of the stuff that really woke me up in regards to the left was really some crazy shit. Because I remember the day after Trump won, I had the night before, I had been enjoying some drinks and shit like that. And I was like, all right, he won. I wasn't exactly thrilled at the time. But I woke up the next day and there were reports about college students needed to go and get therapy. They were going to their therapists. Professors were allowing their students to leave to have a mental health day. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Really?
You've heard me say this before. The best thing about Donald Trump, the very best thing about Donald Trump, and why I voted for that man, is because he drives everybody I hate crazy, both figuratively and in some cases literally. It's great. It was the best thing about voting for him.
I know. I feel so bad for people who don't get the comedy behind Trump, who legitimately see him as this great evil or whatever, because they're missing so much solid fucking entertainment. When he fucking didn't he he threw a piece of candy at Theresa May or Angela Merkel or whatever, and said don't say I never gave you anything. Just shit like that. That's just cartoonishly fucking awesome. Just fucking. Yeah, all that shit. It's wonderful.
And he constantly gaslights the left, right? He constantly does it. I love it. I love it.
Here's the thing. No, I do love it. Trust me. As someone who's definitely, become skilled at trolling and getting people going, yeah, I do have an appreciation for it. I really, really do. I especially love getting feminists going, which is funny because just over almost about 2.5 to 3 years ago, I identified as a feminist. So that's very amusing for me. I absolutely love getting feminists going. The other day, I had a feminist. Her first comment on my post was, "You condescending fucktard." I was like, I love you. I was like, this is great. Because all I basically said was I had posted an article about, the article was the top 5 things that men can do, to help in the feminist struggle for equality, some bullshit like that. And I shared it basically saying, to spare you a boring read, it basically says that men need to shut up and become bitches. That's pretty much what this article is summed up to. And I shared it, and yeah, I hardcore trigger this one feminist, and it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful watching the entire threads just unfold in front of me. But I don't know. Beyond that, I do actually try to have discussions. I don't want to come across as I just try to trigger people, as much fun as that can be. I actually try to have discussions. But it used to be, I remember a time on the left when we had more discussions, but now it is, you can discuss, but once you disagree with me, you're a bigot, and that's the shutdown. Whether you're sexist, racist, homophobic, whatever it may be, that's the shutdown that they try to do. I got into a Twitter, my first Twitter. Melissa, you'd be proud of me. You would be proud of me. I got into my first Twitter war.
You've come so far, Kevin. I know.
I got into my first Twitter war with a feminist. You'd be so proud of me. Actually Yosef, you know Yosef that he had tagged me on Twitter in regards to the 11-year-old Desmond who's doing drag, and that he had performed at a club at 4 a.m. in the morning where he was getting dollar bills thrown at him, so on and so forth. And someone had responded to him, this very woke feminist, pretty much, you're trying to step on queer expression type of thing. And he tagged me and a few other people, and then she was like, oh yeah, straight men stomping on queer expression, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, obviously, well, I was like, I mean, if you ask my husband, I'm not straight, kind of pretty much. And this ended up in a whole thing. And she goes, well, gay isn't queer. And my response was, okay, I'm going to help you get woke for a moment. Us gay men have owned queer for a while, first of all. Have you ever not also heard of the game Smear the Queer? Yeah, exactly. And then I basically got down to this because my ultimate view when it comes to children doing drag, this whole freaking sick, nasty shit, which is child abuse in my mind, is that I don't support beauty pageants which sexualize young girls. So why the hell would I support this shit when it comes to young boys? And she was like, that's different. And I asked her, though, because I knew she was a feminist, so I knew this would create a conflict and a short circuit in her mind. I'm like, okay, you're supporting this young boy going out on stage, dressed in revealing clothing and putting on a show. You're supporting this, okay? Do you support young girls in beauty pageants that sexualize them? I knew she wouldn't answer the question. She kept trying to deflect, saying that I'm suffering from internalized homophobia. She kept trying to deflect, but I kept coming back with, do you support beauty pageants that sexualize young girls? And she couldn't answer the question, and eventually she just stopped commenting. So that was.
No, I saw that video you made, and actually it's pretty spot on commentary. I mean, it's kind of the whole issue is just the first people I saw to actually explicitly mention it was on Beauty and the Beta, their show, right? Matt Christensen and Blondeville the Beast, where they mentioned this is totally Munchausens by proxy. I mean, more so as Blondeville the Beast, like straight up hardlining, like, yes, this is definitely that, right? She's the best. I mean, but like, it totally is that. Like, we need to raise awareness for this bullshit because, like, it is child abuse, and like the way that she tries to defend herself is totally passing off the blame. And you can tell because she says like, "Oh, you're all sexualizing because that's what you're thinking of," and it's like, no, like we're criticizing the sexualization of him, and like literally her whole defense amounts to a "no you," and like she's doing this in this public spotlight that's just so grotesque. And it's awful. It's child abuse.
Here's my like thoughts on this, like this whole situation, right? I mean, granted, I haven't been following it all that closely because mostly it kind of plays into my hand, right? So I just kind of like, the old saying, never interrupt your opponent when they're doing something stupid. That's what I'm going, right? Like, so, but here's my like kind of takeaway on this, right? Like from I don't want to use LGBT activists. Let me call myself because that's associated with like loony left bullshit, right? As a person that thinks LGBT people should have rights, right? Let me put it that way. How many decades did gay men have to fight off the idea of promoting pedophilia, right? Mm-hmm. Like the gay movement. How long did they since basically fucking the 70s, right? So from like the 70s to the fucking 90s, right? actually to the early 2000s. They had to fight off this argument that they were just going to increase pedophilia or pederasty. And then, so finally, the wider American conscience is like, yeah, you're right. We're going to go ahead and let's get married and pork each other out, right? So happy times.
That's a beautiful way of putting it. Absolutely
beautiful way. Beautiful. Love it. Beautiful.
That's America. That's America.
10 years, not even 10 years separated from that. And now the gay men community are parading a 10-year-old drag queen on stage and throwing dollar bills at them. I mean, I'm not trying to be unfair, but I would call that textbook pederasty.
Well, if you notice though, and this is actually what you don't have other than you actually have a very silent left in many ways on this, because I will post a lot of things on social media and I will get a lot of flip outs often, especially regarding the LGBT community. But when I posted about this and compared it to the beauty pageants that sexualize young girls, it was almost virtual silence. The only comment I really had was kind of like, whatever. But outside of that one person, I was tagged in that Twitter mess. But outside of that, I've seen mostly silence. And even those who try to defend it, they eventually just go away. I think it's because a lot of people on a basic level, even those who were promoting Desmond as a drag performer, because here's the thing that I noticed. A lot of people who were promoting him, prior to this, the idea that he was in a club at 4 a.m. in the morning getting dollar bills thrown at him by grown men, that was something that even they weren't going to touch, and they are now silent on, because they know on a basic level, on some level, they know that that's disgusting, they know that it's wrong, and they know that it's child abuse. They absolutely know this. So that's why suddenly they're silent on this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's kind of like, it's because they can't work out the cognitive dissonance, right? Because to them, like they see themselves as pro, like children expressing themselves, and they see this issue of like gay suicide, right, as like an issue of bullying and them not being allowed to express themselves, and then they see like the pro trans thing as going into like allowing children to transition, which is like, it's so retarded. Like I work with children, like I teach small children English, right? And a lot of them, like for fun, like one great question to ask people is like, are you a boy or a girl? Because like they love to answer it, and they like to give the fake answer because it's funny, And I just imagining all these stupid cunts who just take that as like, oh, this kid's transgendered, and it's like, no, he's fucking with you because it's funny, And it's just like so much of that is just like this playfulness that's like necessary to childhood, that's getting abused and getting corrupted for this political narrative. And basically they can't sort out what's their political narrative from what's reality. And that's why they're basically paralyzed. They can't tell you. When they say that's different, they can't tell you how. And if somebody says that's different and can't immediately follow it up with a logical explanation for how it's not different, it's just a form of special pleading. It's just a logical fallacy. And like the reason this comes up so often is because like the SJWs, what they did was they tied identity to epistemology, and that's really what all of this like identity politics and what the whole cultural, like the critical standpoint theory and what it all is, and that's why it comes up so often, and that's why these people are just completely fucking crippled to the point where they can't literally condemn pedophilia, even when it means that condemning that pedophilia helps like defend like adult homosexuals.
Well, for me, one of the big things that I came at this as is because I am someone who actually has attended a number of drag shows. I actually enjoy. I have some friends who are drag performers. I mean, Melissa, you remember I actually even had a conservative drag queen. We did an interview at one time, and
she was so much fun. She was so much fun.
She was amazing. She was amazing. But and the point is, so I actually have enjoyed it. I once considered myself a bit of a club child, and it's because of that, though, because of those experiences, because I've seen that scene, that I absolutely can say without a doubt that yes, that is inappropriate for children. It is wrong. It is absolutely child abuse. Now, I know you mentioned you went on a little bit to the child transitioning. You've heard about children transitioning. You've heard about that case out of Texas, right? The custody battle.
No,
I don't know if you've heard of that.
I haven't followed
So,
it. No.
Oh, is that the one where the mother is pushing the trans on
Yes.
the kid and like
Yeah,
won't
so-
allow the father to be involved at all? That case is
Yeah.
fucked
Yeah.
up.
So
Because
here's
that kid,
the
like when they interview him, like he says, like
Yeah.
he gives different answers depending who's around, and
Yeah.
like they don't interview
Yeah.
without the mother present or some shit.
Yeah.
It's like fucking weird.
Yeah, and that's why the left hasn't responded on it. So a lot of times the left will argue in favor of children transitioning, of trans youth. But this case is different because it's a 6-year-old boy. The mother is trying to strip the father of his custody rights because he will not acknowledge the child's trans identity as a girl. Now, this is where, though, it gets a little bit more complex than the usual discussion, because there's been documentation of when the boy when this child is in with therapy with the father, the child acts as a boy, acknowledges the boy name, presents as a boy. When the child is with the mother, the child identifies as a girl, goes by the girl name. There's no consistency. So there's more of a what's going on here. And I think that's why the left has avoided this overall. And almost knocked the thing up. So I think this is why the left has avoided it overall, is because it shows the inconsistency here. And I will admit, when it comes to children transitioning, this is where I'm also in a lot of conflict with a number of my friends, because I honestly think I don't support children transitioning, because I look at it this way. Once someone becomes legally an adult, I absolutely support what you do with your body. That's your choice. However, I do understand the argument that comes back at me as well. By that time, puberty has taken its toll. But still, if you're arguing for someone in their childhood to be able to permanently alter themselves in a way that's irreversible, it's permanent. I can't personally support that, because I worry the future, that child could have. I don't, and it creates a back and forth with me, with a number of friends even that I have, is that I don't support children transitioning. I don't think they should be allowed to transition.
Okay, since you mentioned this, I want to tie this into one of the big stories of 2018, because believe it or not, that's the theme of this stream. Is it's a little bit of a year in review. So anything 2018 is on the table. Blair White announced that she's going to detransition in order to be able to
Okay, she's being hyperbolic. She's not going to.
Crazy. I know. I mean,
what is it? Sorry, you broke up a little bit on my end. What was it?
She's using this hyperbolic language to get.
Who is?
She's not going to transition.
It's clickbait.
You're not going to see Blair White with a beard and.
I want that. Why can't
Blair White.
Okay, let's be realistic with what she means by detransitioning. She's going to stop hormones in hopes that she can get someone pregnant, right? Good luck. I don't think it's going to work, right? But let's be realistic with what's actually going on. She's not detransitioning shit.
No. She's hoping to do enough to where she can get her swimmers back in the game in fighting condition. That's pretty much what Blair is hoping for. But that's not detransitioning. I have to definitely side with Melissa on that. If you watch her videos when she discusses it, that's not what she's saying. She's saying she's going off enough to where hopefully she'll be able to get, sperm that will be able to produce a child. That's pretty much what she's saying there. I remember that as well. That was a clickbait. Title, by the way. That was clickbait as fuck on Blair's part. That was clickbait.
I didn't even watch it, and I knew it was bullshit. I watched
it.
The title I knew was bullshit. Okay, woman, I don't know what I don't know who you're thinking. And I guess evidently it worked because lots of people watch it, and then lots of people go on to describe it as a detransition. I'm like, okay, well, if that's the case, if that's the bar we're gonna set for detransition.
I agree with you there. If you actually watch that video, it's not detransitioning. It's like I said, it's just going off long enough because she's hoping that she will produce some swimmers who can, do the job and create a baby. That's pretty much what she's doing.
I don't think it'll work out for her, but I mean, good luck, right? Like I
just remembered way back. I think it was in 2015, maybe 2016. She had a stream with Theron, and she was talking about how she didn't freeze her sperm before transitioning, and Theron's like, "Are you retarded?"
Yeah.
But I hope it works out for her, honestly, because I love Blair White. I'd love to see her like as a mother having a baby and everything. Like I think that's really great. Like I hope it works out for her. I got my fingers crossed. But at the same time, like I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely clickbaity. But I'm glad we have Melissa here because you have a little bit more like expertise in some of the. Because I kind of like more or less took her word for it. Like, yeah, that sounds kind of logical. They could kind of work, but maybe I was kind of naive.
I'm not trying to rain on her parade, right? Like, because I'm critical about a lot of things Blair said, but
this is Christmas. We have nothing but the best of thoughts and wishes and intentions for everyone.
Oh no, that's we're not saying that we hope anything bad for her. Melissa, a quick question because I forget how long has she been on hormones?
I mean, I don't know the exact time scale per se. She's had a YouTube channel for about 2 years now. I know she's been on hormones that entire time, and then based on the way she looked when she first started YouTube, which really isn't all that much different than now, tells me she was on hormones for quite some time before then.
She was a Twinkie boy to begin with. I mean, even when she's shown her, she always had soft features, even as male. I mean, that's just a fact. But mind you, this I haven't done the research. I know a little bit more about the trans issue, especially because of some friends, but I'm not sure. Is there really that no turning back point when it comes to that for someone transitioning from male to female to where you're not going to get those swimmers going? I mean,
like my endocrinologist, when I first started hormones, was like, well, probably in anywhere from 6 to 18 months, this could cause sterility. So 3 to 6 months to whatever, a year and a half, right? And that's kind of the acceptable. I mean, because once you start transition, like the chemical transition, I'm not talking about getting your name changed and cutting your hair or letting your hair grow out, whatever, right? But once you start the actual chemical transition, one of the first things that happens in this process, if you will, besides breast nodules, is I don't know how to explain it. Your ejaculate changes. So and one of the it goes from, well, you guys know what ejaculate looks like. I'm not going to explain all that, but it goes from what it is normally, this kind of milky white substance, right, to a very clear fluid, like almost it's like pre-cum basically. It's this very clear fluid, and then even when an orgasm happens, it doesn't maintain that milky white color, and it's like very little amounts come out, right? Like very little. I could probably spit on my table right now and make a bigger puddle than I can when I come, right? Just to put that into perspective. And I'm not talking about one of those like Paul Bunyan, like Haka Loogie fucking spits, right? Like I'm talking like just, So that's one of the first things that happens. And at that point, you're no longer producing swimmers. It's basically what that means. And the longer your reproductive system is kind of in that state, decreases the chance that your swimmers could ever come back. And I've been in the situation now. I've been on chemical transition since 2013, and I've been in situations like just because the way medical worked out or insurance worked out or whatever, that I've been off of hormones for a few months, right? Like 2, 3, 4 months. And even after coming off of hormones and blockers for that long, my ejaculate never actually came back like the way it was supposed to. Stayed to be this very small. Now, this might be because I have a small dick. I don't know. But, yeah, it never came back the way it was before I started my chemical transition.
So you never like fully detransitioned. Like you just kind of had like some hiccups. Like I wonder if you kind of detransition and keep it that way like for a number of years, if that makes a bigger difference. But
maybe I don't know.
It's kind of unprecedented, right? Because like not a lot of people have like detransitioning. That's like peak 2018. To detransition, that's peak 2018.
I think we have to clarify what we are talking about when we say detransition for this, because to me,
that's why I didn't use the word. Yeah. That's why I didn't use the word detransition. I said hormones for a couple months.
And that's what I mean by that. So like Blair White going off hormones because she's hoping to be able to produce swimmers, to be able to produce a child. I wouldn't consider that. Or unwillingly going off hormones because of insurance or whatever it may be. I don't consider that a detransition. To me, detransition is you've decided, okay, this was the wrong decision. Now I'm going to take steps to return to, my biological sex fully, how I present as well to the world. So that to me is what I consider detransition. So you're actually taking steps fully to go back. I don't see, as I know Melissa kind of talked about, I don't see Blair White growing a beard, cutting her hair, and suddenly becoming male, becoming Blaine. I don't know. So this, I just feel like we need to clarify what we mean by detransition. I don't consider what Blair White has done detransition in any sense, but sorry.
Yeah, unless we see a beard, it just doesn't count. But the point is that she wants to detransition to the level that she'd be able to produce for her. So like maybe that's what that's taking. Maybe it's like a game of chicken, right? Like she's like, it's like how much are you willing to commit, right? Is she gonna have to be a bearded lady before she like has enough swimmers? I don't know.
No, I mean,
shit, she wasn't gonna grow a beard anyway, even as like a natural.
I was gonna say, even when Blair White shows images of her as a boy, I don't see any as a man. I don't see any facial hair potential really there. But anyway, sorry, Melissa, go on.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
We distracted Melissa with facial hair talk. Anyway, so
it'll come back to me.
It'll come back to you. So we have the Blair White. We've discussed the incident out of Texas with the 6-year-old and the custody battle between the mother and father, which personally I do support the father in that instance. We've discussed Desmond, the 11-year-old drag star. What other crazy? Because I know Space Fan, you and I would. Okay.
We should talk about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She's had a lot of spicy news this year, especially in the end of it. And this is like totally non-Christmassy of me because like I don't know. When I heard that she slipped and fell, I'm just like, go to sleep, Ruth. Go to sleep. Like, come on. Like, I know I'm like a massive cunt, but fuck her. Like, fuck her. I seriously.
Well,
that's the level of nuance I got. I'm just like, she slipped and fell. Maybe she'll die. She's an old lady, but fuck her.
Well, okay. So I'm gonna be honest. So okay, so in 2016, so the only reason I actually voted for Hillary, which I will admit, I voted for Hillary. I would not do that again, but I did vote
Wash
for.
your mouth out with soap. Get your nose in the corner. Like
I know, right? I know.
there's a corner right there. I can see it. Go put your nose in it.
I know, right? Just like no, it's
and once you're ready to tell us what you've done wrong, you
I
come
know,
out
right? Exactly. So the only reason I actually did vote was because I had the Supreme Court in mind, which is interesting because no one else I know who really voted for Hillary voted for that reason. I did want a more liberal leaning Supreme Court. However, with Second Amendment issues, I've reevaluated that. But still, Ruth, I will say this: if Ginsburg actually did approach this in an intelligent fashion, she would have retired during, at least like into a little bit into Obama's, second term, but she didn't, and she had health issues even then. There is no way that these health issues were not present during that time at all.
I mean,
and
this is going to be my hell ticket. And I'm going to punch it right now.
Okay.
Yeah. When I heard that Ginsburg was in the hospital getting surgery, I actually kind of wanted to stop working because I was at work and just masturbate real quick.
She basically, so Melissa said she just wanted to spit on the table. Anyway, so
I did. I was like, "Oh, Trump will get another SCOTUS pick," and the left will lose absolutely
Dude, how fucking pissed are we gonna be if like Trump doesn't get reelected and Ginsburg is like still fucking trudging along somehow? Like, I'd be so pissed. I would not be able to handle it. Like, I'm gonna have all the same mental issues that all the liberals had when Trump got elected.
I mean, Trump has a lot of crap that, first of all, okay, so like I said, I'm generally not a Trump supporter overall, but there are certain things, and this is where I then get hate from a lot of my friends, is that there are things that Trump has done that I do agree with. So what's interesting though is a lot of the stuff
hold on, Kevin. I know you're old enough to gone through this. I don't know how old you are, Spaceman, but just bear with me. If I told you in 2008 that a Republican would end a foreign war and the liberal media would be decrying it, what would you have told me in 2008?
I'd like, shut up. Shut up. Like, shut up. You're crazy, of course, right?
Okay. I gotta take, so I'm gonna be very blunt and honest here. I gotta go take a piss quick, but when I get back, Melissa, I have some questions for you about this because I know you served our country, you were in the Navy, which, thank you for your service. I have some questions for you about something, all right? I'll be right back. I have some questions for you, Melissa, as soon as I get back, right?
If I'm not back, I'm not doing that.
All right, Space Tan, we'll be right back. Don't worry.
You guys are both leaving at the same time? I was gonna wait for you to get back so that I could take a piss. Now I gotta wait for both.
My bladder is about to burst.
Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna take a short intermission, everyone. We'll be right back.
No, you guys go take a piss. I'm just gonna hang out here for a little bit, and then you guys can come back, and then I'll take a piss, and then we can all be here. Because starting and like restarting the fucking chat is like way too hard. Like even starting the chat, we had issues. I have my first video on my channel where we didn't have Liberal Hammer's audio. And it just seemed like I was a crazy person. Not a normal crazy person, a crazy person talking to myself. But anyway, yeah, well, so what I'm doing is I'm going backwards through my Twitter. So right now I'm on December 21st, and what sparked my 23rd, not even that far. We're fucking 2 days back. But Prince of Queens made a great video about Ruth Bader Ginsburg where he mentioned, like, you can tell that nobody cares about her. Like, not just in the way that we're not caring about her because we're just like, yeah, fucking, like, go to sleep, bitch. Like, fuck you. Like, you should be gone by now. But, like, even the people who should be in her corner and like her, like, they should have some kind of care and compassion and empathy for her. Like, enough to be like, you're an old lady, like, you should be stepping down, like, and, like, they could have been saying this back during the Obama, I guess some of them were saying it during the Obama administration, which, I guess that would have been the best play. I guess she had more confidence, but you know, what are these sounds? What are these sounds? He doesn't realize we have these
the game, which I'm happy that you like this, baby.
What's he talking about? Let's all listen. We're all eavesdropping now. What is this?
Hey.
Oh, what you were saying before was like totally picked up by your mic. So, we couldn't make it out, but it was like really funny.
Well, no, okay. So yeah, no. I quickly went to like give my husband a quick like kiss on the forehead because I kind of do that thing, and he's playing a video game, and I scared the fuck out of him. So he's like, I know,
fuck you.
I know he's right in the middle of killing zombies or something. So I like really fucked it up.
Man, that's how you know it's a solid video game when you're just like in another fucking world. But yeah, I might do a stream later where I do like a proper like let's play. I used to do like shitty ones with idle pouring, and like the joke was that it's like a shitty idle clicker, and to do like a let's play of it is really funny. Like I don't know, I think it's really funny. So it's just like an inside joke with myself that I did for like 20 fucking videos in a row. It's just like watching like, so stupid. Okay. But this new game, it looks really nice. It looks very quaint. I'm really excited for it. Anyway, I'm gonna piss and I'm gonna refill my wine because I can't say because I need it, because I want it and it's Christmas. And Christmas is all about wants, right?
Exactly. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. So
give me. The nicer you are, the more gifts you get.
I took a beer. I took a piss and I grabbed a beer. Oh my god,
There you go.
I'm switching up words already.
All right, I'll be back in a couple minutes.
All right. Alrighty, people. I am commandeering Space Fans channel for a moment here. So what's going on out there? I am watching the comments here. Let me know what's going on. Let me know what you're thinking about. I'll let you know if I think what you're thinking about is stupid or not. Why? Because I'm a sweetheart like that. Oh my goodness. Let's see, how many viewers? Okay, so we have 9 viewers going on here. Oh my goodness, 9. We can do better than that. It's gotta be better than that. So I hope everyone is enjoying their Christmas. I know for some people you're already on Christmas Day, so I hope you enjoyed time with your family. And then the gifts. Notice I said, time with your family, people you love, and then your gifts, because that's kind of important that you enjoy that. Anyways. Oh, I'm hearing noise over there. Do I have Melissa or Space Pan back? Either one of you? No, I do not. All right. So I also hope that you have an amazing new year. Because, Oh, someone said they're tipsy. I understand this. I have had 2 different beers. I have had about 3 of my mixed drinks with Captain Morgan spiced rum, and also peppermint schnapps. I know it sounds very gay, but trust me, it works. So yeah, I'm there with you. Why haven't libertarians been able to make headway? So here's why. Okay, well, actually, ProMail, to an extent, is right in the comments that libertarians are all talk. And the reason to me why libertarians have not been able to make headway is because they cannot make up their freaking mind about anything. Hello, Space Tan. I'm just going on about libertarians because it was brought up in the chat. So
I know, right? I just saw that.
So they can't make up their mind about anything. I actually supported a libertarian candidate in my home state this year of New York. All right, because interestingly enough, the libertarian candidate was actually the only pro-gun candidate, and I'm very pro-Second Amendment, with a number of other issues online. Now, the fact is, though, is that when you go to a group of libertarians, it's really hard to find core things that they will agree on in the same way. I would talk with libertarians who pretty much want no government, not even on a county level or a town level. Like they want nothing whatsoever. And then
That's the one I am.
And then you have the libertarians who are a little bit more moderate with that. And then you have the libertarians that during debates get naked and run around on stage. So, which I don't know if you remember that, Spaceman, but that is legitimately what happened during the debates.
Wasn't that in Florida? That was a Florida man thing. That was also
that was Florida.
God damn, he can't keep getting away with it. Florida man.
He ran around naked.
All right, I'm back.
Stripping. He ran around stripping on stage. So, hey,
I want to address something in the comments right here.
We're talking
Why
about
hasn't libertarians been able to make any
exactly.
headway?
That's what we've been talking about.
Now, I don't know why libertarians seem to be stuck. I mean, the most libertarian guy in politics right now is Rand Paul.
Yes.
But I can tell you, it took a very little amount of time for a nationalist to actually get something done. See, the thing is, Trump is actually not a Republican, right? And what I mean by that is, like, yeah, I know he ran under the Republican Party, and he's the leader of the Republican Party, and he won the presidency under the Republican Party. I get all that. But Trump is not a Republican. Like, Republican Party is filled with all these neoliberal dickbags, right? All these fucking, like, Reagan worshipers in the church of Reagan, right? And it's the same old shit with these fucking guys, right? Like, we need to grant amnesty. We need to have free trade. We need to have, all these, this, we need to go on an adventure with our military somewhere. Trump, on the other hand, he said, and here's the parallel I'm going to give you. Obama said he was going to end foreign wars. Trump said he was going to end foreign wars. They both are president. Which one actually ended foreign wars?
All right, so Melissa, that actually leads into what I wanted to ask you, but I do want to touch on the libertarian thing quick because, like I said, I voted for governor in my home state of New York for the libertarian candidate, and I felt like he was an amazing candidate. I met him twice, actually 3 times. It was overall, but where the libertarians kind of, I feel, lose is like you have the libertarians, Spaceman just, waved his hand to this, as I says, you have the libertarians that are basically, there shouldn't even be government on a town level. And then you have those that are a little bit more moderate. I personally do support there being a military, a military that is, funded and, by the government, so on and so forth. Like these are things that I do support. So this is where I tend to fall a little bit, away from it. And I actually went to a libertarian meeting just the other month, and it was interesting. It was interesting to go to this because you are dealing with people who are so across the spectrum that you honestly look at it and you're like, okay, now I know why libertarians are having trouble gaining traction, especially on a national level, is because they can't seem to agree upon shit on a basic level. I don't know if that.
I think it's a cop out. Here's why I think it's a cop out. Because I think libertarians can succeed in the United States. I really do.
Oh, I think they could, absolutely.
But they gotta come at like their message is usually just brain dead is the problem, right? and I'm sorry, it is. Like and it's not that they're wrong, right? It's not that I disagree with them. I mean, there's certain things I do disagree with them about, but I'm saying it's not like I disagree with libertarians. The problem is I mean, Ron Paul, to his credit, almost got the GOP nod, right? And I think he got screwed out of it. And I think he was far more charismatic and he was far more able to resonate with people than what was his name? Magic underwear guy, Romney, right?
Yeah.
Romney has no personality whatsoever. He's like the
Oh,
Mark
God.
Zuckerberg
Oh,
of
no.
politics. He has no personality whatsoever. But Ron Paul, he was able to resonate with people, and I think the GOP just screwed him over, right? But I mean, Ron Paul and Ron Paul was a populist, right? So you had a populist libertarian. I mean, he is to the GOP what Bernie Sanders was to the Democratic Party. Like Bernie Sanders is a populist too. I know populism is just associated with the right wing because I don't know why people are retarded, but they are.
Your answer. That's why.
But Bernie Sanders, you could call him a left-wing populist, and that's what he is, right? And he got screwed by the Democrats. Well, let me phrase that. He got screwed by the DNC and Hillary Clinton. If you've never read those Hillary Clinton emails, you need to pop over to WikiLeaks. It's fucking eye-opening.
So damning. Oh my god.
It's fucking eye-opening. Like it is eye-opening.
And like Bernie's crazy. Yeah, he is crazy. But like this is all totally true. Like he did get screwed over by them, and like it was really fucked up. Like he should have been probably the Democrats. And like I'd love to see like Ron Paul versus Bernie Sanders in an election to see how that fucking pans out, because that would be the true battle for America's soul. You know, it's like, what do you want? Like that would be the real.
The problem like libertarians get is they get these soulless people to run as president, right? And what I mean by soulless, like they just have no personality, like none whatsoever. What's his name? Bob Barr, right? Like he's usually the guy.
Oh my god, I met Bob Barr.
I'm not saying I disagree with Bob Barr. I'm not saying he's wrong, right? On many issues, I think he's absolutely correct. The problem is the man has no charisma whatsoever. None. Zero. Right?
Yeah, I went to Ron Paul did the Rally for the Republic in 2008, and it was Ron Paul's shadow convention to the RNC that year, and I went to it, and I saw Bob Barr there, and Bob Barr was there because he was expecting to get the endorsement from Ron Paul, and he thought it would give him an edge. And Ron Paul ended up not doing that. Instead, he just gave like a very generic endorsement for saying like, do what you believe in. And Bob Barr was pissed. He did not like that. But like I met Bob Barr, shook his hand, and I asked him, I was like, so like, you know, one concern a lot of people have is that you like really changed your views on a lot of foreign policy and things like that. And what he said to me was, we saw that what we were trying with interventionism wasn't working, and that's why I changed. And that turned me off, because I like to see myself as kind of a principled libertarian. And the correct answer would have been it was wrong in principle. And what he revealed to me was that he didn't see that it was wrong in principle. He just saw it from a pragmatic standpoint. But like Ron Paul, he really was the last libertarian candidate. And in terms of like making politics work from a libertarian perspective, that was it. Like the Libertarian Party in the United States is kind of garbage. It's absolute garbage, and it's anti-libertarian. The way Stefan Molyneux put it is it's like saying let's infiltrate the mafia and then get to the head of the mafia and then turn it into a charity. And that's the best metaphor. That's the best way to understand it. And that's why libertarianism is so confused. Really, though, everyone's a libertarian.
Well, and I think
everyone is libertarian. Everyone's libertarian in their private life. Everything. Everyone's libertarian. They just don't identify as it. And it's a matter of getting those principles to the front.
Because from the outside looking in, the other problem I see with libertarians is they're highly fractured.
Oh, yeah. Yes, they are.
And what I mean by that is like, I mean, Republicans basically boil down to one of three kinds of people, right? You're either the like neoconservative kind of neoliberal Republican, right? You're the libertarian-esque kind of Republican, or you're the nationalist Republican, right? So you're boil down to one of these three groups. Democrats. Really, there's only two kinds of Democrats. You have the kind of corporate goon Democrats, and then you have like progressive Democrats, right?
Hey, what about the Blue Dog Democrats?
They would call them like the kind of corporate Democrat. And when I say corporate Democrat, that's probably even an unfair way to explain them. the most fair way to explain them is that I call them labor Democrats. So, for example, my dad is a labor Democrat, right? And what I mean by that is he doesn't care about like any of this bullshit social issues, right? Like he doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't care about Black Lives Matter. He doesn't care about feminism. He doesn't care about fucking, or what do you call it, Medicare for all. He doesn't give a shit about any of that. He cares only about labor unions and shit like that.
Well,
right?
no, actually, there is a term for that. Union Democrat. That was actually a term. A Union Democrat.
Other than that, my dad is actually like, other than like the union thing, right? My dad is actually fairly conservative, especially for a gay man, right? And what I mean by that is he loves guns. He loves fishing. He loves hunting. He thinks like
nice.
He thinks most of this, like, because I explained to him like this transgender BS. I'm talking about like non-binary and all that, right? And he thinks that's all fucking bonkers, right? I showed him a video of Riley Dennis, and he's like, he's like, that person's a fucking moron. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And so like he's and then like he's very I won't say religious, but he has a very strong religious affinity, if you will, right? So like he's 70 years old, right? Or almost 70, right? So he's got these very nuanced kind of views, and he's like what I would call it like a labor Democrat. That's all he cares about, right? Mm-hmm. And for the first time in his life, he actually voted Republican because he liked Trump. Like he's like this. He's like, I don't agree with him on the labor thing, but he's like, he's basically what we need in every other category. So the first time in my life, I'm going to vote Republican. That he hates Hillary Clinton.
So here's an interesting. Oh, sorry, go on.
If you understand him as a labor Democrat, or you understand why he hates the Clinton name. And it all boils down to NAFTA. It all boils down to NAFTA.
Yeah. Union Democrats are definitely not a fan of the Clintons, are not fans of the Clintons. That is for sure. What's interesting though, to go back to the populism thing, now exactly what this says is that there are a number of people who voted for Bernie Sanders in the Democratic primaries who then voted for Trump in the general election.
I would say
no, there actually is a percentage. I think it's around between like 6 to 10%. I think. I'm not sure. I'd have to double. I don't quote me on that. I know it's actually. I think it's more close to about 10%, maybe even more. But it was actually a number. And actually, one of the candidates, he's former military, who was the first to declare his candidacy for the Democratic ticket, is actually a Democrat who first supported Bernie Sanders. And when Bernie lost, he voted for Trump. This is someone who's running on the Democratic ticket. He's pretty much a nobody in the grand scheme of things politically. But this man, former military, voted for Bernie. And then when Bernie lost in the primaries, he voted for Trump in the general election. So this is actually something that has happened. So it just shows that populist, right? Because that's the one thing that Bernie and Trump had in common there. So it's absolutely it's just fascinating, because I will admit I actually voted for Bernie in the primaries myself. However, I wouldn't vote for Bernie again, because I actually have paid attention to a lot of what he has said. And that's
I am so proud of you. You're coming along so well. God. Are you gonna come down to Colorado and chill out at the RNC convention with me?
I would love to do that if I could. No, it's interesting for me because, like I said, I find myself in this very interesting place to where the Democrats are losing their freaking minds. And actually, another area where I tend to conflict with libertarians is a lot of them do not have a strict stance when it comes to sanctuary cities. I do not support sanctuary cities. I don't. However, I've known a number of libertarians who are like, well, just leave that up to the people to decide whether or not they want their city to be a sanctuary city. And that's where I conflict, because I'm like, because the problem is that the arguments that are in favor of sanctuary city are bleeding heart arguments, and no one wants to come off as cruel. So you're going to get people who will vote for them. And then eventually that's what you'll end up with, is a nation of sanctuary cities. And I'm not for that.
Well,
So
I mean,
here's the thing. Like, Democrats, I think, here's the thing. Trump is giving, like, with this whole government shutdown, right? Trump is giving Democrats just enough rope to hang themselves. And what I mean by that is, immigration has never been popular in the United States, especially refugees. It's never been popular.
Oh, no, it's not. To the average person, absolutely it's not. Not even the average Democrat.
Yeah, it's not even it's not even all that wildly popular amongst Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump is giving them just enough rope, because, like, in 2020, I'll guarantee you, like, or in 2019, excuse me, next year, here's going to be Trump's talking point. I wanted the wall. Democrats wanted to just let immigrants come into the country. I guarantee you that's going to be his talking point. And
and like they play into
nail
his
him
hands.
against the wall with that shit.
Every time they just play right into his hands. Like it's really, but like in regard to the libertarian argument behind it, like what happens is, like the issue is that under like libertarian ethics, the non-aggression principle, it really makes a lot of sense, and it really is practically what we generally do in our own personal relationships. The problem is that we're all in a statist paradigm. We're all in a paradigm where we've had governments the entire time. And it's like you have a bunch of slaves, right? And then like the slaves are under a really, really merciful, benevolent slave owner. And then like they're saying, oh, well, if we try to get freedom, like it's going to be really hard because we've never done that before. We don't know what we're going to do. And there's going to be a lot of hardship, a lot of suffering. And like none of those arguments are wrong. But like the question is basically the divide between the monarchists who believe that like you have to have some small version of government. But then even among the like ANCAP people, there's sort of this new divide where you have people who think that you need to live as though we're not living in a state and have those principles as though we're not in a state at all times, or not be a hypocrite. Whereas at the same time, like we all recognize that retaliation is a legitimate like form of like self-defense, right?
Yeah.
So the question is, what's the degree to which that actually applies to government? Because, for example, I'm an ANCAP and I voted for Trump and I support Trump and I like Trump. And I want to see Trump reduce the size of the U.S. government. And to me, that's the absolute most important thing. Whichever side can reduce the size of the government is the best, because they're reducing the overall influence of the most like violent entity on the planet. So basically, it's this question of like ends justifying means. It all gets tangled up because we're all in a situation where we're constantly robbed and we're all constantly inhibited by terrorist monopolies. And the NAP doesn't really have like a strong answer to that when we're already in that situation. It's more of like pre all of that being a thing, like, is that a question, right? So I think that's why there's all this inconsistency. But when you really boil it down to it, even like the most left-wing progressive person, they are fundamentally libertarian. It's just they believe that their own bullshit is quote unquote necessary in order to make the maximization of libertarianism possible. And the fragmentation with libertarianism, it's not just within so-called libertarians. There's fragmentation there, but the fragmentation within libertarianism is all of humanity. And it's all of the different views within humanity. And that's all of the fragments, basically. But the reason they think that like sanctuary cities are okay is because they kind of view it as like, yeah, like local government is preferable to big government. What they don't realize is that like these sanctuary cities are within larger structures that have states. And like people who are in unassociated cities and municipalities that are then associated by the state, like they have to deal with the fallout of these sanctuary cities. And that's where you then have both sides of the argument under libertarianism. And that's the thing, is you can actually recontextualize and repackage all political arguments and most like moral and philosophical arguments to be just libertarians versus libertarians. So libertarians is the red herring, basically. It's a red herring.
Yeah.
I mean, and like, especially with ANCAPs, like, the only more opposite you could get from me in terms of political views than ANCAP is ANCOM. Because I'm a nationalist, right? And part and parcel to being a nationalist is a nation state, a strong nation state at that. It's necessarily a federalist position.
I mean, it is, but maybe it isn't. Like, have you seen Molyneux did his first documentary about Poland? And for him, it's this big, like, it's a little bit cheesy, but it's this big, like, struggle for him because he's still philosophically anarcho-capitalist, although a lot of people in ANCAP are just like, no, he's fucking not anymore. Like, he's clearly whatever. But he went to Poland, right? And he's, like, looking at, like, Polish people and all this Polish nationalism and trying to kind of, like, understand how it's all working. And my takeaway from the whole presentation is that insofar as nationalism is legitimate, it's not enforced through a state. You know, it's enforced by, like, culture and by norms and by caring about other people and by wanting all these things. And it's the kind of shit that, like, sounds like communists fucking talk about. But ultimately, communists want to force it upon you at gunpoint. You know, under anarcho-capitalism, you want to basically create the incentives that lead people to make decisions that are better. And in that sense, it sounds utopian. But again, it's only utopian, like, compared to the status quo. And, like, the status quo is fucked. So there's a lot of room for anarcho-capitalists to fuck up before they're even, like, not as good under a pragmatic standpoint. But I think you can have anarcho-capitalist nationalism. As paradoxical as that sounds, I think that there's room for that. I think that a lot of the things that you see that are good in nationalism, you can have without having a top-down enforced state.
I don't know. See, it's just, for me, it's interesting because, like, you know, obviously from the social circles that I came from, if you were to say nationalists, automatically people put the word white in front of it. So I remember when I first started, you know, doing my show with Melissa, which for a while, for those of you who are not aware, Melissa and I actually did do a show together on MAGA One Radio. And, you know, it was interesting because people automatically, nationalists in the context of America, gets associated with racism. And it's just ridiculous because I do see a valid point and a strength in being proud of your nation, putting your nation first, military and people, you know, wise. Now, I do want to jump to something that I wanted to ask Melissa about because, you know, Melissa, you mentioned about Trump and ending a war, so on and so forth. So here's the interesting thing. Let's a few subjects at a time. First of all, Syria. What's been interesting for me, observing this whole thing about withdrawing from Syria, is that it has gotten a lot of criticism from Republicans. Even Ben Shapiro went off on this, which was interesting. How doing this is pretty much repeating Barack Obama's mistakes, is creating an environment in which ISIS or maybe another terrorist organization can get a stronghold, and we're just going to be back there anyways at some point. And then, of course, you have Mattis resigning after everything. So, Melissa, I know, and like I said, that's why I mentioned that you served in the military and so on and so forth. What is your view on that? I mean, do you think that was the right decision to withdraw from Syria, given the volatile environment that's there?
Well, there's actually a lot of levels to this, right? And it's actually quite a bit to unpack.
Mm-hmm.
One of the first people to cry foul about all this were the European nations. And they're like, oh, this is going to embolden Russia. Well, here's what I got to tell you, European countries, you European nations. If you're so worried about fucking Russia, hear me out. Hear me out. You could send your men to go die in Syria. Point blank, period. But I don't see you motherfuckers doing that. No, you're just letting the United States take care of it, having your bloated social welfare programs, and then calling us assholes because we can't afford said bloated social programs, like your fucking universal healthcare or whatever it is that you want to call it, right? So fuck off with that shit. How about you cut into your social programs and go defend whatever it is you want to go defend in Syria and put some fucking skin in the game? That's all I got to say to Europe. Like, I don't care what Europe thinks about the United States. I don't. Fuck off. Like, I just don't care. I just don't care. They can think we're all fucking drooling assholes. Whatever. Fuck off. Go fight Russia if you're so fucking worried about it. 2. Ben Shapiro is... No, I mean, like, I disagree with the man about a lot of things, but I know he's coming from a principled place, right? So, and what I mean by that is, I knew he wasn't going to be happy with Trump doing this, right? Like, and Republicans like him, because they're very, like, Shapiro and all these guys, they're very much a part of this, like, neoliberal, conservative, imperialist point of view. Donald Trump's not an imperialist. He's a nationalist. And so I get they're going to be upset. And then you got the libertarian-esque Republicans, right? Like, so, what do you call it? Like Rand Paul, he actually praised Donald Trump for the move. He thought it was the right thing to do, right?
Yes.
So you got those kind, and then like among nationalists, I mean, the nationalists I talk to, the majority of them support the move, right? And they all ask one very, very, very good question. Just how long, like, where's the end goal, right? Where's the line in the sand? Like, how many generations? I mean, we've spent almost 20 years in Afghanistan, right? That's a generation. A generation's 20 years. Just how long are we going to have to be in Syria? And Syria looks like it's a dead end, right? And what I mean by that is because Russia's got interest in it, Europe has got interest in it, we had interest in it, right? Like there's this piece of pie and everybody wants more of this pie. But I mean, is there a way for us to win? Like that's my question. Is there a clear-cut way for us to win? I don't see that because Russia has interests, Europe has interests. So either we help Europe and piss off Russia, or we help Russia and piss off Europe. Like, there's no way for us to win this. There's no middle ground.
So
unless you want to split the country in half, and then everybody's going to say we're colonializers. Like, so there's no way for us to walk away from this looking like the good guy. How about we just wipe our hands of it and tell the world, you know what, y'all can go fucking dick with it. Like,
so question, Melissa, do you see this possibly coming back, to bite us in the ass? For example, if ISIS does gain a stronghold again, and there is another attack on American soil similar to, for example, 9/11, did we then create our own bed if that is a result of this?
I mean, if you shut down the border, if terrorists aren't in the United States, guess what they can't do? Right? You have to physically be in a location.
Yeah, no, okay, so
like this is how it works.
So question then, Melissa. So I know you're a nationalist. So you support nationalism, and to a degree I actually see wisdom in nationalism. But do you then support isolationism? Because that would be another level there.
To an extent, yes. I mean,
isolationism, that's kind of just a straw man, isn't it? Like, now isolationism means non-interventionism, you know?
I mean, to me, yeah, like, here's like, you're right. Like, whenever I say, I don't want to see our men go off in some goddamn ill-conceived war that has no end to go die in these fucking wars. Like, Afghanistan has no fucking end. There isn't a military mind on the face of the earth that could tell you, okay, we could have. There's not one. It'll say, okay, in 3 years we can be done with Afghanistan. There's not one fucking military mind on the face of the earth. There's no one that could say where the end is, like where the light at the end of the tunnel is, so to speak, right? So, I mean, just how long are we going to send our men to go die in Afghanistan? It's already been, almost 20 years.
I think we end up in a cycle of a what if. Sorry, go on.
And if me saying, look, enough's enough, we spent trillions on this ill-conceived, or misbegotten fucking conflict that we're in. We're not getting anywhere with it. It's time to bring our men home. It's time to stop this nonsense. If that makes me an isolationist, then fine. I'm a fucking isolationist, right? I mean, I'm fine. And like I tell people this all the time, I'm fine with trade, right? What I'm not okay with is like us having these free trade agreements and all these different countries are manipulating currency or cheating the system in one way or the other, and then expecting us to foot the bill. Like, I'm not okay with that. And if that is fucking protectionism, then I'm a protectionist. And when I talk about protectionism, let's go ahead and bring up a very crucial point. And I actually got this point from, of all people, a fucking communist. The United States, and because he was absolutely right, the United States, for a vast majority of its existence, had a protectionist economy. This idea of free trade only really came about in the 1970s. So from 1776 to the 1970s, when Nixon allowed China to dump their goddamn steel into our industry or into our market, and by the way, we lost all our fucking steel manufacturing capability. Before that time, we did have a protectionist economy, because your economy, like much to the chagrin of the ANCAPs of the world, your economy and the infrastructure that it grows has to be protected and coddled like a baby. And if you don't, and here's the reality of that, if you don't and you just let global markets flood in, you lose the capability to be a self-sustaining country. If we went to war right now with China, we don't have the steel manufacturing capability for a long, drawn-out war. We just don't have it. Because all our steel manufacturing capability shut down after we allowed cheap Chinese steel to be dumped into our fucking economy.
So speaking of economy, with the market, going down, with basically the stock market and everything going down and gains being lost recently, Trump has turned his rage or his discontent towards the Fed. What is your view on that overall? Because mind you, we are.
I'll tell you who's tanking the economy, and that's fucking the Fed and the deep state. They are absolutely doing this because their little free ride, their little fucking party that they're having with the way trade deals were set up and everything. Because, the way NAFTA is set up and all these different trade agreements we're in is set up, it is great for multinational corporations. I won't deny it. It's great for, it's great for GM, it's great for Ford, it's great for Toyota, it's great for Walmart, all these mindless corporations, right? It's great for them. But none of these multinational corporations give a shit about the American worker. Not one. Not fucking one. Right? And what's happened is Trump said, nope, I'm going to turn the spigot off. And I'm going to make you come do business in the United States. I'm going to make you fucking do it. Or you're going to pay a whole bunch of taxes to do market or to get into the American market. I mean, this is the definition of a tariff, right? And I mean, prior to the age of globalization, nearly 25% of our tax, or nearly 50% of our tax income, came from tariffs, because companies and countries wanted to do business in the American market, and they still do. Like, if these tariffs go up, China and all them, they're going to rattle their sabers and they're going to get good and mad, but they're going to pay it because they want it in the American market. All that cheap Chinese shit, they want to sell in the American market. And without it, they're fucked. They know they're fucked.
Oh yeah, no, I can definitely agree with that. I have a lot of friends who post about China, but like, I mean, and mind you, I'm not. I come at politics initially from a more social perspective. That is my past. That is my experience. Is social political issues, not so much economical. But even from what I have seen and from what I have read, China is about a lot about bark, but it's pretty much a chihuahua barking.
Well,
like, you know.
I wanted to finish.
And they love chihuahuas here. They love the little dogs. Hong Kong doggers, they're the cutest, fanciest, fluffiest little dogs I've ever seen.
Like, if you're an investor or an owner, or like you're part of the natural or the multinational corporation like machinery, right? You've had the best 10 years we've ever had. Like, what's the trade-off? What's the trade-off? Millennials today own 20% less than their parents did at the same age. We've impoverished an entire generation. And I know it's fun to like poke at millennials and be like, dumb motherfuckers, right? Yeah. But they don't have the manufacturing jobs their parents did. It's not an option. It's just not an option. And not all millennials are these fucking retards you see in college campuses, right?
Yeah.
In fact, that's a very small, very loud minority. Your average millennial just like they're approaching 30 years old or older, right? And they want a family and they want to have kids and they just want all the typical like adult shit. But they don't have so all these manufacturing jobs, they went away and they got replaced with jobs that involve how can I help you? Like all these shit service industry jobs, and they're all shit. All of them are shit. They will always be shit. And this happened because we reorganized our economy from a manufacturing economy to a service industry economy. And the reason this happened was because of free trade. And when Trump gets on his stage and he does the little soundbite of it, like free trade, it hurts like poor Americans, right? It does. It hammers them. And the statistics show we have an entire generation, the largest generation to ever walk on the face of the United States, the millennial generation, is an impoverished generation. And that's the price we pay. That's the price we pay for all that cheap shit in Walmart.
Melissa, question. So what Trump is doing right now, I know obviously there's a concern with the stock market, the Fed, there's so much going on. How do you think ultimately this is going to unfold in 2019? Because let's be honest, how 2019 plays out will decide whether or not Trump gets elected again in 2020. It's not the only factor, but it's one of the big factors.
Here's the difference between what's going on now and like the recession, because I know this gets compared to the recession. GDP growth last year was 3.2%, or for this year, 3.2%. So the GDP is great, right? And unemployment is at a record low, which, by the way, is causing wages to increase, right? So we're seeing the wage increase. And three, because labor's the cost of, or there's a demand for labor, that tells you that businesses and economies inside the United States are growing. The only thing that's not growing is the Dow Jones. That is the only thing that's getting hurt right now. And anybody trying to get a loan because their interest rates went up.
Yeah, well, that's because of the Fed, right? Because all their
that's the Fed. Like all this BS that the Fed is pulling and the deep state is pulling. They are trying to sink the economy because they don't like what Trump has done. They don't like these him restructuring free trade, because now they have to play by rules. Now they have to pay if they want to do business outside the United States. Now they actually have to come back to the United States and hire Americans, which cost more than poor dumb people poor people in third world shitholes, right? And the proof is in the pudding, man. Someone in the United States, I don't care where you live, you have to make a certain amount of money in order to live in the United States, right? And it doesn't matter really where you are. Like if you live in the middle of Kansas, right? Like rent is like $400 a month, right? All your other bills together, like your utilities, your trash, all that, it's probably going to be in the neighborhood of like another $150, right? Let's call it $200. So you're going to make at least $600 a month to keep a roof over your head. Another $150 to keep yourself fed. $150, $200 to keep yourself fed, right? And because you live in rural America, you have to have a car, right? So like, let's just call it like fucking 2,000, or no, that's probably a little high. Let's go with like $1,500 a month. You got to make at least $1,500 a month to live in the United States, and that's in the middle of nowhere, Kansas, right? You can't make $1.50 an hour and pay all that. You just can't. And that's before taxes and all that. You just can't do it. So to sit there and expect poor Americans to compete with poor Mexicans or poor Venezuelans or poor Hondurans or poor Brazilians or whatever, it's just an unrealistic expectation. These people cannot compete on a global scale. I'm sorry, they can't. And you can say they can get a different education or whatever. You can come up with all that BS, right? But the fact of the matter is, if everyone in the United States has a doctorate degree, somebody still has to flip burgers.
Very true.
Well, and I think this is really making the case for like if you're looking at like having globalism in a larger scale, like you can't just like press a button to make globalism happen instantly, because then you have all these issues, right, where people can just like produce at such a cheap rate and then like no one can compete with it and it fucks everything up. But like if you have a more soft transition where you kind of like have these basic defenses of the nations as they are, and then maybe actually get rid of some of the protections and get rid of some of the taxation, get rid of some of the regulation, you can start to kind of levy the blow of trying to equalize things, and it ends up actually creating more prosperity across the board. Like tariffs are kind of a shitty idea, just in general. Like with a tariff, you end up basically making everybody poorer in the long run. Like you might look at a particular industry and say, oh, it's hurting this industry, but the overall amount of money that's coming into the economy, and when you factor in the fact that like economically speaking, people will adapt and they will restructure and they will invest based upon what the new standards are. And if they have some level of guarantee of what those expectations are, they can actually anticipate those and make smart economic decisions. So like, I can see how in like a really short-term perspective and in particular industries, there's a defense to make for certain tariffs and things. But in the larger scheme of things, if you're looking at the overall like wealth of a nation, there's really no reason to have trade wars and have things like that. And there's a lot of other methods that you could do to kind of make things more kind of eased out. But like it goes back to this whole issue of like whether or not you can push like an anarchy button, push like a globalist button that makes everything one way, versus like having kind of a softer, like plateaued level, construction of things. Because like we would like to see a world where everybody is prosperous, like the U.S. Like we have this whole disparity where it's like cost so much money just to exist in the U.S. relative to other countries. I mean, is a U.S. consumer really consuming that much more that it should cost that much more? Like, what does that cost really represent? Doesn't it just represent like how much like artificial bullshit costs that we've added on that we don't fucking need, you know? Like, and like, look at the size of the U.S. government. It doesn't give us that much value. It's all fucking stolen. It's all like a bunch of garbage. Like, I mean, the vast majority of it, we get like so little payback for what it all costs, you know?
So I have to take a piss quick. I'll be right back. But I guess the question that I'm going to have for both of you, I guess to take us in a little bit of an interesting direction, because I'm curious, and please don't answer until I get back, is in your perspective.
We're going to sit here and argue about it or talk about it.
Okay, fine. I'll ask once I get back, bitch about something else. I'll be right back, all right?
We're going to keep on the conversation, but yeah. No,
okay, all right.
I just don't see, like, because I know the libertarian answer. They're like, well, you know, if this job isn't paying enough, then go get educated and go get this job. Well, that just doesn't answer reality, right? Like, it just doesn't. Not everybody could drop what they're doing to go to fucking some goddamn university, right? Like, not everybody could just stop what they're doing to go get some fucking like education, right? Like,
yeah, but we don't necessarily need that, right? Because like, if you got rid of a bunch of like minimum wage, if you got rid of a bunch of labor laws and everything, you'd have all these jobs available at all kinds of different skill levels, and like you'd be able to afford to have like all these apprenticeships. Like apprenticeship, that's like died out as a thing. It's like barely even a thing in the U.S. And like, frankly, it's a great model for education. Like, that should be more of a thing. And I think that like, imagine how much value and how much not just value economically, but value in terms of the education that could happen. And we know that like these higher education universities, they're so bloated with all this government funding they get, and now how they, because of the student loan practices, they can basically ensure that people are going to pay these high tuition prices, right? So like, basically it just takes the wind out of their sails and exposes them as the charlatans that they are. You know, you have a lot of these fucking professors who like, they're not better than YouTubers. That's the biggest secret of the reality, is that like, people just talking about shit on YouTube, they compare favorably to a lot of what you'll get in a university education. And the only difference is the fucking degree and this fucking, it's basically a really, really fancy appeal to authority. And like, in the short term, I think your analysis is spot on. Like, in the short term, it makes a lot of sense. And I don't want to downplay that, like, there's definitely suffering that happens in the short term. But like, I think that there is a longer term perspective where there's solutions out there. But it's like a really unpalatable thing, because you ask me like, how are we going to solve it? How are we going to? And the answer is, I don't know. I can't know. And that's the beauty of capitalism, is that it's all creative destruction. Like, nobody can fucking anticipate what's going to happen next. But the solutions are out there. Like, they really are. Like, you know, we live in like a level of wealth that kings 100 years prior to us could never have dreamed of.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, Ramses II probably never even saw ice in his entire life, but...
Right? I mean, right?
No, I mean, he probably...
You can just Google any work of art and see a representation of it on your screen. Like, what amazing wealth that is. There's more music you could ever listen to in your entire life, more shows you could ever watch in your entire life. You have access to so many books, and more than you could ever fucking read. Like, the abundance that we have just for virtue of having access to the internet is insane. It's absolutely fucking insane. Unprecedented. We're the most unprecedented, most wealthy people ever. So in terms of like all of humans who have ever existed, we're the wealthiest that have ever existed. And it makes me pissed off, because I feel like 100 years from now, like, how much better are things going to be that I don't get to see, you know? I'm very white-pilled, I guess. I'm very white-pilled ultimately.
No, I think, I mean, like, me personally, like, I'm just looking at what has happened, like, what has happened since we like did this free trade BS, right? And I don't see all that much good out of it. Like, yeah, okay, we got a bunch of cheap shit in Walmart, whatever. I'll give you it. Okay, we got cheap shit, right? But what's the trade-off on that? Like, and that trade-off is wages have been stagnant since basically the 1970s.
I guess basically I'd have to just say it wasn't real free trade. But I'm not. Yeah. But it wasn't. You know what I mean? is free trade relative to what? Relative to like the past of the U.S. and like I call everyone communist. And I don't think that's hyperbole. I think everyone's a fucking communist. And, like, I'm not wrong. I'm holding that line. We've never had free trade. We've never had capitalism. Like, we've just had the least communist of the others. You know? And like, people don't want to accept that because it's like, it seems like it's really collapsing of the conversation. There's not a lot of nuance there. But I really think it is just, like, a bunch of slaves talking about, like, what the best slave owner is. And that, like, of course, there's this whole crazy unknown of being free that we don't have answers for. And that obviously involves a lot of suffering and involves a lot of change and involves a lot of adaptation. But, like, that's the direction of human history. And in the very, very large scale, we're seeing it. So that's why even, like, these, like, little bickerings between, like, the monarchist versus anarchist libertarians and the bordertarians versus the open border, I think ultimately it's not going to matter that much. I think that ultimately it's this human spirit that's moving in a direction that is ultimately going to eventually lead towards that. And I guess the question is how we're going to get there. But I think it's a choose your own adventure where we're going to get there different ways. And like what you're saying, it makes a lot of sense in the short term. And if we're concerned about suffering in the short term, like, yes, like a lot of that's really valuable and makes a lot of sense. But like the principles derived from it, like that we can't have free trade or that like tariffs are a good thing or protectionism matters. I think that those things they're kind of half truths, and they're important in the sense that they're true, but we shouldn't like stick to them as principles because we don't know what the future's going to be, and we might be laughing at ourselves, you know, and laughing at the past for like how they thought it was this great thing when really it just kind of had a short-term utility in the present.
So, okay, I know I kind of came in a little bit on something, but I actually have a question for each of you because I do have to probably get going shortly because, I mean, it is almost 1 a.m. here and I still have to spend Christmas morning with my husband, so I'm going to get to bed shortly. Question for, I guess this question, it's a two-part question for each of you. So, with the 2020 election coming up, what do you personally feel could win Trump the election, and what do you think could lose Trump the election? Just out of curiosity for each of you, both. What could help him win, and what could cause him to lose? If you were to look at 2020 right now.
I mean, here's the reality of 2020. Republicans in Congress, I think in 2020, Republicans are going to keep the Senate, and here's why. Yes, they have to defend more seats, but only two of those seats were not in Trump states, right? And those states that are Trump elected, Trump won by double digits, and one of those seats that Democrats are holding on to was from Mississippi, and basically some politician got Me Too'd in the middle of the election. And that's the only reason the Democrat won that Mississippi seat. So that's going to be another Republican seat. So you're looking at a very possibility that like Republicans are going to have 55 senators in 2020, right? As far as Trump himself, if there's no shit evidence that the Mueller investigation has any air to it or any meat to it, I don't think it does. I think it's just all political BS. But if it comes out that he had a hand in this, whatever the problem is somehow, I think that'll hurt him big time. I also think if the deep state and the Fed tank the economy, that'll hurt him out quite a bit. In spite of the fact that unemployment is really low, in spite of the fact that wages are increasing, et cetera, right? That businesses are growing. Like, I think in spite of all that, that'll hurt him big time. And because that was always a criticism of mine. Like, when the economy was really doing well, he would get on a stage and be like, oh, look how well the economy is doing. Let me tell you, if I'm ever president, I am never going to bring up, like, what the Dow Jones is doing. Because that is a fucking that is a great way for the deep state to fucking torpedo you, because if you live by the economy, you die by the economy.
Mm.
What could help Trump win? A lot of different things. I mean, if this Mueller investigation doesn't go anywhere, it's going to look like a Democrat witch hunt, and I think that's going to be big time. If depending on who runs in 2020, like Democratic nomination, if they get one of these like run-of-the-mill socialists to fucking run on the Democratic ticket, or Hillary Clinton, I think that'll be a big boon for fucking Trump. Because
I agree.
All this socialist shit is really popular with Democrats. Independents don't like that shit.
Well, okay, I do want to jump in there. It's not okay. So it's popular with the far left Democrats. There are a lot of Democrats that it is most assuredly not popular with.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, like, the Democratic polls, right? Like, how do you feel about universal health care, all that other shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's really popular with the progressive left, but as far as like independent voters go, they're not interested in that shit. Like in Colorado in 2016, I know a lot of people don't realize this, but Colorado had a bill for Medicare for all for the state. It got destroyed. 70% of people in Colorado voted against it. It got blown the fuck out. And the reason it got blown the fuck out, or one of the reasons it got blown the fuck out, is Republicans all voted against it, and all the independent voters voted against it. See, everyone has it in their heads that it's Republicans and Democrats that decide elections. That's all BS. It's whoever the independent voters side with is who wins elections. And if you're going to get a socialist with their, we're going to get Medicare for all and we're going to tax it like 80% and blah, 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 all that BS, right? You get them on a stage and 70% of voters in Colorado will vote against them, point blank, period. So, like, yeah, if they run one of these run-of-the-mill socialists that are in the Democratic Party right now, they're toast. And Trump will be an 8-term president. And then finally, the last thing I want to say is incumbent presidents actually have a fairly good chance of being reelected. Most presidents get reelected. So there's that too.
No, absolutely. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, I get most of that all makes perfect sense. Like that independents are the ones who you kind of have to convince. I guess part of it is if you look at like Ann Coulter and her crusade against Trump not building the wall fast enough, and her saying like you're not going to get my vote. Okay, but like Ann Coulter is not going to like protest vote Democrat against Trump, right? So like I feel like that's true with Trump's base in general. That like even if you could try to like so much of what the left has done has been like very anti-Trump, but it hasn't built towards anything else. There's like nothing else that stands to replace it. Like we talk about like, oh, like it depends on who the Democrats are going to choose, but we don't know who the fuck that's going to be. Like, right? And like in the other elections, it seems like there was kind of a clear roster of people who would stand there that like this is who it would be. But like in the last couple of elections, it was what? It was Clinton and Sanders, and like who the fuck else was in the Democratic pool? Like I don't remember. I don't fucking remember who these people are. You know, like. So in terms of trying to move like any Trump voters back toward the left, it seems like that's not going to happen. There's so many reasons it's just not going to be a thing, and then you have to look towards just like this independent style thing. And yeah, like it really seems like if you look at the left's strategy towards dealing with politics over the last several years, their strategy doesn't seem to change or adapt. It really seems to be based on this this like pseudo-intellectual progressive style basically attacks on epistemology where they say you have to have these certain character identities, right, in order to have certain knowledge, and that if you're part of an oppressed group, that therefore you have special epistemology that gives you access to all knowledge. and like they're really, really tightly knit to this style of like philosophy and the style of thinking. And it's expressed so often in the way they approach politics, and it's been consistently expressed in their politics for so long that I don't see it changing. Like the only way that they've really gained any traction is in attacking Trump. But then if you look at like 2018 versus 2016, 2017, it seems like it's been less turbulent. It seems like there's been less anti-Trump drama than usual. And the big high-profile things that did have drama was like the Kavanaugh hearings, where Trump's exposed of having a witch hunt. And I agree with Melissa Karlee that like fucking this Mueller probe is going to end up looking like a Democratic witch hunt. If they had evidence, they're way too emotional. Like they would have revealed what they had by now. They're not. They don't have a poker face. Like anything that's exciting to them, they would have revealed it by now. Would have come out, you know. So they have nothing with the Mueller probe. They have all their documented instances of being witch hunters. The Me Too movement has finally reached the point where like mainstream people are starting to call it out. Like there are people like me who've been calling out from the very beginning, being like, "This is a bunch of fucking bullshit." You know what I mean? Like, and like that's kind of more the core of Trump, who have been like skeptical of it. But now that's become mainstream, and now it's become mainstream to like be anti this very PC culture. And like the baby it's cold outside thing, that doesn't help either, you know? So like the way it looks, it's gonna depend. You know, we have a couple of years to go towards then, and like anything could fucking happen, you know? And like that's the beauty of Trump, is like it's a fucking wild west. And I'm all for it. I'm gonna get my entertainment's worth regardless of what the fuck happens. But you know, they're probably gonna double down on all their bullshit like they always do. They're gonna choose a hyper, super socialist, crazy out there fucking person to be their guy. It's gonna be like a version of Bernie Sanders that's like somehow has enough concessions that makes it palatable to the corporatists. Yeah. And it's gonna alienate all of the independents, and then Trump's just gonna win again. Yeah. So that's how I see it. But who knows?
Yeah, so I will admit this. So, for example, I mean, the PC thing is definitely running its course. I mean, and especially there are some signs. First of all, in regards to the Women's March. So you have Alyssa Milano calling out the Women's March as anti-Semitic in a lot of its views. So, first of all, right there, I mean, because you have Linda Sarsour. I mean, a lot of people have known for quite some time that the Women's March, the whole, you know, that whole thing had some connections very much to anti-Semitic views overall. So you see that crumbling. You see a lot. You don't really see Black Lives Matter. You see the hashtag here and there, but you don't really see them being very vocal or having a presence. So you see a lot of elements on the left not really having the sway that they did. Some of them are very loud still, and they are pressuring others, but they really don't have that. I can honestly say, especially as someone who is still a registered Democrat, that anything that even smells of democratic socialist is not something I will support. And the question is that when I look at a lot of people on the left, when I look at a lot of Democrats, I actually see them as connecting. So here's the thing. I will post something on social media, and I will get a lot of people who I know are Democrats, who I know I identify as more left-leaning, reaching out to me and saying, actually, I agree with you. I agree with you, absolutely. And they'll do that in private, but they're afraid to do that in public because that small minority on the left, that batshit crazy, has scared a lot of people. So yes, I do think that unfortunately the Democrats, the Democratic Party that I personally feel like I joined and became part of, is pretty much dead in a lot of ways. So I do think this depends on a few things. First of all, how things go with the Mueller investigation, you know, in regards to Trump, how Trump handles this. Because a lot of people feel like Trump, to an extent, is his own worst enemy. Something will happen, and then he will tweet about it, and people will then respond to that. So I think that's going to play a role. And then, of course, who the Democrats choose is absolutely going to play a role in regards to this. And I really think the Democrats have built themselves up to where if they choose anyone who's not far left, they're going to lose the very loud minority that has taken control of the Democratic base. I've even joked when I saw Beto O'Rourke pushed as a leading candidate for the Democratic Party. I was like, wait. Are you wait? But he's still wait. Are you telling me that you're going to get the left to support a cis white heterosexual male? And like I've joked about it, but to an extent, like for example, first of all, I think it would be humorous. So here's the thing. I think Beto O'Rourke is going to be up there. I think if he does run Joe Biden, which Joe Biden is just the crazy uncle that's amusing to watch, and then I think like Kamala Harris will probably have a presence there. And Kamala Harris, while I would absolutely I would pay to watch Kamala Harris debate Trump because I think that would be one of the most hilarious things ever. I really do. I would actually pay to watch that, to live stream. I would pay to be there.
Dude, I wish that politics was just internet blood sports. I wish that IBS would just go to politics. That's where it belongs. Like, that's what it needs to be by now.
I honestly, I really do think it's a little bit up in the air right now, but I don't think that the Democrats are going to put forward anyone who's really a moderate, anyone who can speak to middle America. I really think that the Democrats are going to fail there. So ultimately, I really think this really depends on how Trump approaches 2019 and then also 2020 leading up to the elections. Because the thing is that some people honestly feel, and even some Trump supporters that I've spoken with have felt this way, that if the Democrats were to put up anyone who even was remotely likable to middle America, unlike Hillary Clinton was, that Trump would lose the election. So I really think, though, that's not going to happen where the Democrats are concerned. I mean, just from as a Democrat watching this bullshit. So I really think this depends a great deal on how Trump handles the next 2 years. That's just honestly where I'm coming from as an undecided voter, by the way, for 2020. So
spicy.
I know. I know. I know Melissa's hoping to corrupt me between now and 2020 even more.
I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get Kevin to come up on his YouTube channel and be like, look, I changed my political position. I'm now a nationalist. And I'll be like, that's fine. I'm so proud of him. Look at my son.
No, but you know what? If it comes out that 4 years of Trump hasn't reduced government spending, once it's all calculated, I don't know if I'd be able to vote for him a second time. Like that was my one thing. Single issue voter, reduce the size of government. I'm not a lesser of the two evils kind of a voter. I prefer the non-voting. I think there's a lot of virtue in non-voting, especially anti-voting. Like, you don't have a fucking responsibility to vote. Fuck that noise. It's not the non-voters who cause a problem. It's the voters. If nobody would just vote, we'd have nobody elected, and it'd solve everything.
I wonder if there's something in the Constitution. What the constitutional fix is if nobody votes. Like,
I know, right?
Like, nobody voted. Even the people themselves were just like, okay, I'm out here because the Republicans got to have someone, but.
that would
I won't
be
vote
that
for the other guy, but
that would be an interesting thing. Yeah, if nobody voted, how would that be handled ultimately? If absolutely no one voted, that's an interesting one of those definitely what ifs. But I mean, I honestly I do see value in voting. The funny thing is that I'm not driven by fear anymore. I used to be driven by a little bit of fear, I'm not going to lie, where I had to vote for what I saw as the lesser of two evils to avoid the other. And that's not who I am anymore. I'm not afraid to vote for a third party, even if I know that there's the good chance that party is going to lose. That's how I was in my home state of New York. I voted for Larry Sharpe because even though I knew his chances of winning were incredibly slim, I couldn't support either of the other candidates in good conscience because, for example, even the Republican candidate, Molinaro, his choice for lieutenant governor supported the SAFE Act. She supports strict gun control. And I know people are like, well, that's lieutenant. Same thing. I actually put value on the vice president choice, on the choice for vice president. And I will admit, Trump definitely damaged any way that I could, damaged a real way that I would support him by choosing Pence. I am a very much, because you mentioned issues, right? There are issues that we all have that we will not bend on. I am a very strong and strict believer in separation of church and state. If I sense that someone is, a threat to that, I'm not going to support them, which is my right. So when Trump put Mike Pence as his vice president, I'm sorry, that instantly made it a no for me. Because, yeah, that was just, that honestly was a no. And, so I mean, I don't know where I'm going to be ultimately for 2020. I may end up voting third party. Hell, I may do a write-in. I might write my cat's name in. I don't know. But I really think that ultimately 2020 depends on Trump more so than the Democrats, personally. I really think 2020 rests in Trump's hands more so than the Democratic Party. So, but
I mean,
yeah,
it makes sense. Like, I guess the way I see it, it's kind of like win-win. Like, either he does a bunch of crazy shit on Twitter that's super awesome and makes people kind of think about shit, which would then hurt his chances, or he kind of plays it a little bit more kind of calm and collected, and then everybody just kind of forgets about any drama that happened beforehand, in which case he'd be basically unstoppable. Like, so, win-win, whatever. Like, who remembers, it was earlier this year, back to the theme, the technical theme of the stream, things that happened in 2018 that mattered. There was the hurricane in Puerto Rico, and he was talking about the death toll and like contesting it, and like caused a bunch of drama on the internet because like there's honestly, I think that study looks sketchy. I think that study looks sketchy as fuck. So call me a denier if you want. I'm gonna
here's the one benefit that Trump does have. As I don't know if it's because of technology or what it's because, but America has an increasingly shortening attention span. We are in about what's happening now, what's big now, what's causing the drama now. So what would work to Trump's advantage is if near the 2020 election, if the drama that's going on is hurting the Democrats, that will work towards him. If the drama is not hurting him, that's what will work towards him. No one will remember 2018, 2017, 2016. Hell, in 2020, very few people will remember or care about what happens in the year that's coming now, 2019, because we have that short attention span. So what's going to happen that will decide the election will probably happen within 4 to 5 months leading up to November in 2020. That's what I honestly think. I really think it will be decided within those few months leading up in 2020. So, but anyways, oh shit, I just dropped a bunch of shit.
You spilled
the Red Sea. You spilled the Red Sea. It's got to happen once a month, right?
Oh, yeah, we don't want to talk about spelling seed. No, I have to get going because I do have to get to bed so I can spend Christmas morning with my hubby. Yeah, I've enjoyed this live stream. Thank you for having me on, Space Fan. Melissa, it was great being on with you again, by the way. I actually have you both on my channel. I want to have you both on my channel in the near future. So for those of you that are watching, hey, check me out, The Liberal Hammer. I wasn't active for a while, but I did put up some recent shit. Let me know what you think of that. If you disagree with me, fine, comment. If you agree, comment. If you just want to shit, comment, go ahead. Anyways, thank you, Space Fan, for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for coming. It's been fun times.
All right, and have a good one, Melissa. It's been
Yeah,
great
you take
being
care,
on with you
hon.
again.
You take care.
All right.
Hon. Don't do anything I would do. Actually, yeah, do everything I would do. Go be a
I was
natural.
gonna say. I know. I was gonna say, damn. I mean, the options there.
I want a bracelet. I want a what would Melissa do bracelet. That might be good.
I know, right? That would be awesome. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye, everyone.
Later, hon.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Bye.
I'll make sure I update my description to add the channels to my description here. I was like making it and trying to figure out how to make Google Hangouts work with the stream, and we learned it. We figured it out. But
Yeah.
because of that, my tags and description are kind of barren. So that's gonna be some post-production shit.
I forget tags until somebody brings it up.
I know we're just fucking accidental boomer mode here. That was the joke. No, I had a stream earlier where I was talking to him for a little bit, and like I guess his audio wasn't coming through, so that was pretty bad. I didn't even mean to upload it, but it's uploaded now, so fuck it. But yeah, so it's 2 p.m. here. Are you also in Eastern? Are you also in his late-ass time zone?
No, but it is getting to be midnight, and I got to get a couple things done. I do actually have to take off, but it's been a fun stream.
It has been fun. Yeah, it's been good to catch up on everything. And yeah, we'll keep on keeping it. Now that I know how to stream, we can
Yeah, no, I mean, anytime you want to stream, I mean, just shoot me a link. If I can do it, I'll come on. If I can't.
Dude, yeah, you were on it like a fat kid on a cupcake. I just we were like hanging out. We were like, oh fuck, we should invite Melissa. And just not you the stream, and then within like half an hour or whatever, you just like showed up.
Because I like doing hangouts and stuff. So yeah, I'll do a hangout with anyone. I don't care if you got 1 subscriber or 5,000 subscribers. It doesn't matter to me. I like hanging out.
Dude, that's how I feel. I'm fucking like small YouTube channel pride. Small YouTube channel pride, like for sure. Like that's what I love about YouTube is just people fucking having their camera on them and talking, just sharing their fucking opinions from their bedroom. It's so real. Like I love it.
I mean, like the most shocking thing that I've ever done on YouTube is when I asked Turd Flinging Monkey if he wanted to do an interview, and he actually agreed. So like I wasn't expecting, I wasn't even expecting him to see it.
Man, he is so fucking cool. Okay, so before you fuck off, I want to have like one little segment with you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So I was at a bar the other night, and like I have some local friends here, and like one of them, she's like a feminist, and we were talking about stuff. So I'm not gonna identify her too much, but like when I get drunk, I talk about things that I'm excited about, and one of the things I'm really excited about is sex dolls and love dolls, because I think they're gonna save the world. I think that sex dolls, they're not the heroes we asked for, they're the heroes we deserve. It's true. Like, they're going to save the fucking world, and it's going to be fantastic. But this feminist, of course, she was like, no, I'm against it because it promotes rape culture. It promotes intimacy with an unconscious body. And that was the part of it that I thought was kind of an interesting argument, because I had never heard that before. I'd never heard this idea that, a love doll is necessarily like a lifeless body, and a person who's having sex with it all the time is like replicating sex with a lifeless, inactive partner. Now, what the wonderful counter argument to it, and I didn't really have like the time to like unleash all this on her. I was just kind of like getting her perspective on it because it's whatever. But so if you look at love dolls and look at sex dolls and look at how they work, like the more expensive the love doll is, the more that's invested into it, the more they try their best to make it seem lifelike. They try to make the skin softer, they make the eyes seem more real, they try to make
they're doing a really good job with those dolls. Like I've seen them.
Scary. It's fucking scary how good they are. Like they're making them look so fucking real. And if you think about this, like the kind of person who wants to like really invest in having a love doll, particularly because they've had like instances with real life humans that haven't worked out, and they want to find an alternative to that. Especially in the MGTOW context, where a lot of it has to do with just the way the laws are and the way that everything is set up right now, and the way society is. Like these aren't people who are seeking out these dolls because that's what they prefer. They're seeking it out as an alternative because like they recognize there's too many disadvantages to the real thing. But like these dolls are so lifelike and so realistic. And then have you ever heard about TFM? He's recently opened up more about how he's talked about using the Replicator app.
Yeah.
I
watch his content like religiously. You have no idea.
On my Sundays, like I sleep in until like fucking afternoon, and then I can see it's uploaded, and I'm like, yay. I don't like actually go on Twitch to watch it live, but like for me, it's like good enough to just like listen to it after it happens a little bit.
Yeah.
But when it's uploaded on YouTube, I'm like absolutely like, on that shit. But yeah, it just struck me that like the feminist narrative behind it is, oh, these people want to fuck a dead body. Whereas like if you're actually engaged with the culture and the motivation behind it, and even the qualities of these dolls themselves, like you see that it's literally everything is pointing to the opposite, you know?
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. I've slept with women that are probably a little bit less, or I've slept with women where the doll would probably be more interactive. I'm just saying. Like,
damn, that's a low bar. That's a low bar. But yeah, those women who just kind of lay there like, okay.
I mean, I've slept with guys that are, I mean, it's true with men too. Like, I've had guys that just, like, lay there.
And they
like,
just,
you know,
sex, they do everything.
It's like, you know, sex can be fun. You know that, right? Like, it's okay.
Yeah, right.
Like, well, I don't know who told you where it has to be boring. Like they lied to you.
Like, Diana Davison had made a video, like, years ago where she talked about, like, so many people just mistake bad sex for rape. And it's like, you need to have bad sex before you have good sex, you know? Like,
yeah.
You know, like, you kind of, it's especially, like, when people are, like, doing hookups. Like, you're dealing with someone who, like, you don't really, like, know. You know, you don't know what they like or what they don't like. There's a lot of talking, kind of negotiation and figuring out, you know? And, like, so much of it is just, like figuring out where those things are. And, like, if you have this mindset where, like, sex has to always be this, like porn, professional, perfect fucking thing, you know, it's just, like, it corrupts the whole thing. And, like, what I found kind of, like, getting older is that, like when sex is kind of, like, a little bit non-ideal, and you're kind of reminded that you're dealing with, like, a real person and everything, to me, that's kind of endearing. It's kind of this, like, lovable loser relationship sex, and they kind of makes it, like, more fun, you know. And it's just, you know, it doesn't have to be this, like, crazy thing.
I mean, for me, like, I'm just, I mean, maybe it's because I've been with my boyfriend so long, right? But, like, we're at the point where we're doing our thing, we're having sex, and then we'll stop in the middle of, like, crack jokes and just be silly, right? And then we just pick up and go at it again.
I've totally had that too. I just, like, stop and just, like, I just like chuckle about something. I was like, wait, what's so funny? I'm just like, oh, this, and like, that is funny. And just keep going. Like, that's the best, you know. Like, how come there's not porn like that? It just has those, like, weird little moments in them, you know.
Yeah, like, to me, sex is not something I take seriously at all. Like, it's like when I go to have sex, I'm like, ooh, we're gonna have fun. Let's do this, right? And, like, and it doesn't involve, like, any, like, crazy toys or anything, right? Like, it's you know what I mean? Or, like, it's not like he's, like, got me, like, tied up to the wall or something, you know? Like, it's just fun. I don't know. And when I'm, like, before I met him and I would, you know, have sex with a guy or girl and they would just lay there, like, this sucks. This is not fun in any quantifiable way. And for me, what it is I think they're taking it so seriously that they're paralyzed to do anything.
Right. Because any action they take, it can be interpreted, you know?
Yeah.
And they want to, like, stave off the interpretation. So they just, like, want it. Yeah.
And, like, me, like, I've straight up told them before, I'd be like, look, you can relax and have a good time because it makes it more fun for both of us. Like, it's okay. I'm not gonna freak the fuck out if you say something outrageous. Like, I don't know, saying outrageous shit is part of having sex, right? So
yeah, I like, some people call her God. I just start saying the N-word all the time because just because, you know, fuck it, just for the flavor.
Yeah, like,
I mean, I don't really, but, like, I should.
And I think that's what it is. Like, people have just watched all these bullshit Hollywood movies and the sex scenes in that, right? And they just think that's how people fuck, you know? And so they take it super seriously, and you could tell they're taking it super seriously because, like, they're just taking shit, like, they're just not having fun. They're so paralyzed by, like, whatever standard that they set in their heads that they're afraid to, like, just kind of veer off of that path.
I wonder if part of it has to do with it's almost this paradoxic nature of the sex positive movement, where like the sex positive movement is like very pro porn and very pro sex work and pro all these things, and then it just like leaves regular, normal, like well-adjusted people into like looking at all this stuff on porn and then be like, oh, this is the sex positive. Like instead they look to the media for what sex and what all that should be. When like the real sex positive is more of like something you practice in the actual moment. And the irony is that a more sex negative perspective, I think, leads people to have just like more like casual and like, and not necessarily casual, but like more like uninhibited like sexual experiences. Whereas like the sex positive thing kind of like creates this edifice of like, this is what it should be like. And then it leads to all of this like weird like policing of sexuality within, you know, the social justice culture, where they're supposed to be kind of like, it's almost like by being sex positive, they've also made themselves the authorities in sex. And then people who are kind of like kind natured, they kind of like innocently look to that because they don't know what else to do, you know?
Yeah.
And it's sort of created this weird like proto Puritan thing in sex. Because I imagine you talk about these people who are like very, very like rigid and passive during sex and don't want to do anything. I'd imagine that they're not like, it's not because they're super like religious and super like conservative. No, it's probably because like they're more like liberal and outspoken, and it's kind of like an all bark no bite situation.
Yeah, well, and I think a lot of it is like, I think especially with the younger crowd, I think a lot of it is like, they've built this like idea of what consensual sex is in their head, right? And they're so afraid of like breaking that consent contract, whatever, or consent agreement, or whatever it is that you want to call it, right? That they're afraid. Like, to me, the difference between really great good sex and rape is a razor thin fucking line.
Ooh, that's spicy. That's a spicy thing to say.
But it's true, isn't it?
And there's probably truth there. I mean, especially if you're like, I mean, I guess a lot of that has to do with kind of like the playing hard to get sort of thing. And it's a distinctly feminine dance, right? Of, oh, no, but I'm going to pull you towards me while I say no, you know?
I'm not saying that rape doesn't exist, right? Like, that's not my argument. I know that's going to get strawmanned as that, but there is. It's a razor thin line between amazing sex and rape. Like, it's like when my boyfriend, like, when he gets aggressive with me, it's a turn on, right? Not like beats the shit out of me, but like just gets aggressive, right? And is assertive in what he wants and all that fun stuff, right? Like, it gets me going and it becomes exciting.
It just reminds me of, I saw like on Facebook, it was like this like copy pasta fucking video of just all these, copy pasta's like text, but anyway, all these like videos of people like showing post-it notes of the things that police people asked them when they said they were accused of rape. And it's just like, why is it a post-it note, first of all? I hate this style of video. It's like so fucking stupid and like overdone by now. But like this one chick shows her video and she's like, you know, it's like the cops asked me if it was rape or if he just beat me up a little. And I'm just like, that's a good question. That's a great question. Give him the fucking Investigator of the Year award. Like, what? Like, that should be the first question. She's like, oh, man, this is rape culture. It's like, oh, go fuck yourself. And then they think that was rape culture too. Like,
yeah, I don't. And maybe it's because like I'm inherently bisexual, that my personal proclivities with sex are kind of loose on the ends, right? to. Yeah, so maybe it's because of that. I don't know.
You're just damaged and complicated.
I know. I'm just damaged goods. But
No, I remember, you had mentioned that in one of the Gatriarchy chats, and I looked at it, and at first I didn't get it. I was like really confused. It was like a little logic puzzle, and I was like, oh, because you were saying that like if you like something about like if you don't recognize that trans people are their genders, then it makes you one way. But if you do recognize trans, then you're the other way. But if you look at it, it's like really confusing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like if you can restate that, it's what it's that if you don't recognize trans, then you're gay. But if you do recognize trans, then you're bi, because you also like some trans people. But under the first definition, they would be seen as their biological gender as male, right? That's how it works, right? That was.
I mean, like, here's. This is why I don't use like the. This is why I don't use the common lexic terms very often. And what I mean by that is like gay, straight, bi. This is why I use the psychological words. So, androphile, gynophile, and ambiphile. So ambiphiles are bisexuals. And I have never met, like in my entire life, I have never met a gay man that wanted to date a transsexual woman. I've never met one. Now, I'm not saying these people don't exist. I'm sure there's probably a gay man that has a hankering for trannies, right? Like, okay, fine. Well, no, when I say trannies, trans women, right? But, and I've asked, like, I've known gay men, right? And I've asked them, and I'd be like, look, would you sleep with a trans woman? And they're like, no. And then when I look at guys that are attracted to trans women, they're exclusively attracted to trans women and women. Right? Very few of them are actually like interested in men. Like masculine presenting transgender lesbians. They're very not attracted to masculine presenting transgender lesbians, right? I'm being facetious. But are you there?
No, yeah, I hear you, yeah.
Okay. So like I've never ran into a gay man that was into trans women. And then the men that I do meet that are into trans women, they're not into men. They're only into trans women and women. Now you can make the argument that they're bisexual, but there's a problem with that, right? Because if they were bisexual, like a thoroughbred bisexual, they would at least be into twinks or into, other guys, right? But they're not.
Right, so that is kind of paradox, or that kind of makes sense. That's the thing, though, is that like feel like
that's why I call like men that are into, and like I know this is like not a very popular position to take, but I think men that are into trans women and women are gynophiles.
Right, because they're into all of the like sexual indicators that are female, and then for them they can kind of like look past the penis if like it's a good enough like. It passes well enough. Yeah, and and honestly, that kind of makes sense. Like that kind of perspective makes the most sense of anything, and I think probably applies to the most people.
And I said, and I tell, I've had a conversation with people in my Discord about this. I think the problem is, it is a kind of sexual orientation that society in general just hasn't agreed upon, as far as a definition is concerned. Because not all men who are into women are also into trans women, right? So there's definitely a kind of orientation going on there. I just think the problem is that our language just hasn't developed enough to accurately describe that particular kind of orientation.
Right. So this would be kind of an orientation that includes trans women and women while excluding like Twinkie boys.
Yeah.
Which like you'd expect though, like, oh, maybe they're just bisexual, to kind of just explain it. Like that would be kind of the obvious explanation. It's like, oh, these people are probably just somewhere in the middle, And like if you look at like the Kinsey scale and things like that with this kind of this thing, like that because that's kind of like one of the predominant theories, I can see how that comes into play, where people are just saying, oh, well, if you're into like something that's sort of halfway one and the other and kind of in the middle, like that's just part of being bi. But like, if you see this hard separation where like they're into a trans women, but not like twink boys, or they're into like trans men, but not like butch girls, that kind of blows that theory a little out of the water. It's a serious problem for that theory.
Mm-hmm. And like, this is why I use the term trans attracted, right? And it's not even a good terminology in and of itself, right? Because, I mean, there's some really pretty trans women out there, right? And if you just, and well, not you, because you're not into women, but let's just, for the sake of the argument, you're a straight guy, right? And you came across this trans woman, and you thought she was a woman, you thought she was attractive, blah, 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 and then you find out she's a trans woman, right? Now you're in this like mental conundrum that you can sit there and play the game. Well, am I gay? Well, no, because you didn't see a guy. You weren't attracted to a male, right? You were attracted to what you thought was a female. And you're probably still attracted to that person, right? Just because you find...
Yeah. I mean, I guess for me, like...
I mean, let's say you found a guy you thought was really attractive, right?
Like, I'm really, really, like... I'm fairly open on a physical level, so I might be, like, maybe... I don't identify as bi because, like, I'm not interested in women. Like, I don't seek them out. But, like, I'm not, like, totally close to the idea that the right woman could be there. But, like, I don't... It's not a thing. Like, I wouldn't put that on a woman because, like, I more or less identify as gay.
Well, I mean,
it's a useful identifier. But yeah, but for the sake of this like thought experiment, like I had to like meet a man that I like, and then I find out he has a vagina. I don't know. I guess part of me is kind of like, if I'm enough into the man, then I wouldn't care that much.
Yeah, like, but I mean, are you all of a sudden are you all of a sudden a bisexual, or are you all of a sudden straight? You know?
Yeah, right. It's like, and like he'd have to be fairly masculine for me to look past that. Like,
yeah, but you know, you see what this is the internal, like, here's where the internal logic all falls apart, because just because you saw a trans guy and you thought he was attractive, didn't know he was a trans guy when you found him attractive, and then you find out that he is, that doesn't all of a sudden change your entire life of being a homosexual male.
Right, and even if it's something where you're like, you know what, I really, really connect with and really like this person to the point where I'm willing to kind of like deal with this and look past it, that's not the same. Like you'd prefer that they have the genitals you expected still, right? So in terms of identifying your sexuality, like the fact that you'd be willing to then maybe cope with it, I guess in the sense that we have bisexual as a standard for like the typical sorts of arrangements you see, there could be a sort of like bisexual in terms of like going towards trans, which complicates it even more. And I guess this is where I can see how a lot of like very, very like Christian minded, very like conservative kind of people, like they see it as like, why can't people just be normal? This is really complicated.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because human beings aren't simple creatures. There's nothing simple about humanity. Nothing at all.
Right.
We have complex and deep personalities. We have complex and deep, like on an individual level, we have complex and deep individual histories. And then on like a family unit level, right, we have complex and deep family histories. And then like on a tribe level or community, like communities are fucking complex as shit. And then, you know, and then you take like human, like society, like just collectively. I mean, there's hundreds of religions, hundreds of languages, you know, like there's nothing simplistic about humanity. And I don't see why people would have the expectation that sexuality would also be simplistic.
Yeah,
like,
that's a really good way.
Is there any precedent that says that human sexuality, like any precedent in any other aspect of the human existence, is there any other aspect that is simplistic? No, then why would human sexuality be simplistic?
And like to demand simplistic human sexuality, it's kind of like you could counter it up with saying like, well, should we have simplistic movies and simplistic media, simplistic art? Should we have simplistic politics? Should we have simplistic society? Should we have simplistic like desires? Like the whole beauty of humanity is this kind of multiplicity of it, and like sometimes it's weird and confusing, and I guess to kind of like ignore or deny one aspect of that complexity, it's really hypocritical when like as humans we all naturally appreciate the diversity of all the different ways that like we are and we think and we and we produce things.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess sexuality, it's on like a level that like makes it hard to. I guess that's part of it. Yeah.
I mean, to me, my worst nightmare would be to wake up in a world where everybody's simplistic and easy and the same, essentially. That would be my worst nightmare. God, life would be fucking dull. God, it would be miserable.
And like a great RPG video game, it's like measured by the complexities of the NPCs, you know?
Yeah.
Like even when we look towards things like that, towards our entertainment, and like we want to see these confusions and complexities replicated in that way too.
To me, it would be like playing an MMO that's just filled with like non-interactive NPCs. That's exactly what it would be like. You know, it would just be miserable. No. You know what? I'll deal with some of the weird like fetishes out in the world. Like not all of them I agree with. But you know what? I'd rather tolerate that than just like a gray goo of sexuality.
Well, what do you mean by gray goo? Like, did you just mean like all like one the same?
Yeah, like gray goo. It's like science fiction stuff where if you build a nanorobot and you tell it to make paper clips, and then it begins to deconstruct absolute everything in order to make paper clips, right?
Oh.
Like it tears apart everything. It makes everything into this like gray goo to make paper clips, right? So like I would rather
make
have
paper clips by any means necessary.
Yeah. I would rather have people have the fetish of shitting in each other's mouths than having a gray goo where that doesn't exist. It's not for me. By all means, you want to shit in each other's mouths as long as you're adults. I don't give a fuck what you do. Right? Not my business.
Yeah, it's just utopia fallacy. It's just people who like they see something they don't like and they think I'd prefer to live in a reality that's the same but not with this. But the ultimate consequence is that if you get rid of a lot of that shit, then you're also kind of reducing all of the complexity of it. Kind of just raises as a natural consequence of it. I guess that's a really beautiful way of kind of explaining away a lot of really bizarre sexual fetishes. I feel a lot better knowing that whenever someone confronts me with, hey, did you know like people, did you know that white girls fuck dogs? I'll be like, well, that's part of the rainbow.
Yeah,
you know what? Maybe the LGBTQ like fucking P, when they add more and more acronyms and letters to it, maybe there's something to that. It's just an ongoing fucking thing that's going to add.
Oh, that's going to go on forever until it's... I mean, it's already there. Until the acronym is essentially worthless.
All we can do to salvage it is we're just trying to take the G out of it and just let it keep going.
Yeah. You'll never hear me say LGBTQ. To me, it is and will always be the LGBT or GLBT, depending on my mood, right? Like, if I'm talking to, like, one of these political lesbians, I will purposefully use GLBT. I will purposefully do it, right? But, like, I will always use LGBT. The LGBT. And then people are like, well, what about, like, my pansexual, sapiosexual, otherkin, fourth gender polybears? And I'm like, well, are they... Are they LGBT? No? Okay, then I don't know how to help you. Like,
what you say? I'll afford them the same courtesy I afford to people who shit in each other's mouths. which is you're an unfortunate part of the spectrum of human sexuality that I've come to accept as a package deal.
Yeah, like, okay, so there's heterosexual relationships, LGBT relationships, and then everything fucking else. And I'm fine with everything else existing, right? Provided everyone's an adult, right?
Right. Everyone's an adult, everyone's consenting, you know, all that stuff. Which is like
all that consenting. I'm fine with the rape fantasies being
should be
played
a
out.
simple enough fucking standard, you'd think. But
I'm fine with the Muslim. I'm fine with the Muslims having goat waifus. Like I honestly don't care. Like have at it, you know.
I'm actually not okay with that. I heard a really recently I heard an argument against bestiality that was really interesting, which I never thought I'd be like saying this out loud, just like talking about it. Like it's like obviously like gross or whatever. But this really fascinating argument, which is that like humans, they evolved fucking each other. They evolved exchanging. That motorcycle is really loud. Okay, they evolved exchanging like pathogens and shit with each other, right? To have immune systems. But like if people do interspecies shit, like the animal's at serious risk. Even if it's something that's not like considered like really like hard sexual for like humans, you know, like for so we're gonna
I mean
the example was sucking a dog's dick. Like you could give that dog a UTI from that because it doesn't have the antibodies for it, right? So from that perspective, it's a really great hard standard against fucking dogs and fucking goats. But I understand you were just like tongue in cheek.
Yeah, I mean, like, to me, here's the deal, right? If somebody's really intent on fucking their goat, nothing in this world is going to stop them. It just doesn't fucking matter, right? So...
I feel bad for the goat, though. I mean,
it sucks for the goat. Like, I wouldn't want to be the goat, right? But, I mean, at the end of the day, if Muhammad Ali wants to go fuck his goat, I can't stop him, right?
Right.
And I don't want to create a government so large that it does stop him, because that government's just gonna eventually shit on me. Like, it's just a matter of time.
Right. It's ultimately we'll consider a goat fucker.
No, what I'm saying is like a government that's like, to me, the most terrifying thing in the world is a federal government that is so large that is concerned with people fucking animals, right? Like that is, no. That is fucking my Orwell nightmare right there, right? So, I don't want the government that goddamn big, right? I don't even want the state government that goddamn big.
We'll have to settle for the Molyneux solution, which is if we stop spanking our kids, then they'll stop fucking goats.
Right, we'll go with that. But
cross our fingers and stop spanking kids, and then they won't fuck goats anymore, and that's how we're gonna achieve world peace. That's what we got in 2018. That's what we got.
And then
we'll see you next year and let you know if we got anything better.
That's my, I don't know, that's my overall view. It's like you got straight, LGBT, and then if you're outside of the LGBT thing, like I'm not trying to make laws to prevent you from doing what you're doing. I'm not trying to like prevent you from doing what you're doing. I'm not even going to shame you for doing what you're doing. I might think it's fucking weird. I might even think it's disgusting. But you know what? If it helps you get your rocks off, more power to you, right? You want to fuck the dragonkin, polymorphed, sapiosexual demi boy, then by all means, knock yourself out. Like, I don't care. It's not my fucking problem.
There you go. That's the true live and let live right there. That's the true, dare I say, the libertarian spirit.
Well,
I mean, you won't the label, but...
I mean, I have a libertarian background, I'll put it that way. And then, then I turned, 17, and then I became a nationalist, so... I kind of grew up a little bit and became a nationalist. It's all right.
The closest to nationalist I got was voting for Trump. I never thought I would vote, and then I did.
I'm proud of you. You did America good. I'm proud of you.
We'll see what happens in 2020, but yeah, I think I think we've touched on a number of very pressing issues in our times. I think that we didn't really review the year like I sort of half-bakedly hoped I would. I'm on my Twitter feed. I'm at December 14th. So I made it back 2 weeks. But
No,
that's
I mean,
okay.
if I had
Christmas, it's fucking Christmas. So it's
I mean, in my
whatever
defense,
happens, what meant to happen.
in my defense, I had no idea that was the point of the stream. So I just
Right,
came
and
here
that was
talking shit
another
about
part of-
whatever I
yeah.
wanted.
I just that was my little pet thing for if I ever ran out of things to talk about, that I would just like go back to my Twitter feed and work my way backwards and bring something up. And then we mentioned Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and I mean, fuck her. She deserves a stream. Merry Christmas.
I mean, I got a meme made for me when John McCain kicked the fucking bucket. I'll make one for Ginsburg when she kicks the bucket. Like I'll tell anyone. I'm glad fucking John McCain's dead. Fuck him,
Dude.
Fuck him.
Have you seen It's Rainin' McCain?
Yeah, like
Oh my god, that's my favorite video of all time. It's my favorite song. It's Rainin' McCain.
I mean, for my issues,
I listen to it like every 3 months. I listen to that song again because it's my favorite song.
I mean, John McCain represents everything I hate about the modern Republican Party. Like everything I hate is in one man.
Yeah, I grave dance. I'm not gonna lie, I grave dance. I'm not above it. But you know, that's what the Christian holiday of Christmas is all about: is honesty and kindness and compassion. And I'm honest about that. My act of dancing on McCain's grave was an act of compassion somehow.
Yeah, and it's kindness because reasons.
That's good reason. That's good enough. It's fucking Christmas. It's good enough.
But it's no, and so if Ginsburg ends up fucking croaking over this fucking cancer deal.
Woo! Oh my god, let's have the most insensitive stream ever when she ends.
Yeah, you can bet your ass. We'll be
the two fuckers. Like, we'll be like, okay, this is gonna be like no holds barred. Like, fuck her.
The Ginsburg is dead after party. You know,
That's
like it was
right.
like it's shit faced and.
Dang, John the Ginsburg's dead. We'll fucking Photoshop like a house on her with her fucking little. The Supreme Court, did they wear special slippers? That was the Pope. The Pope wears special slippers. When the Pope dies, can we have a stream like that? Because I hate the Pope too.
You know who I'd like to see them Trump nominated for the Supreme Court? I don't even care. Well, I mean, there's really no qualifications to be a person on the Supreme Court. You just need to be nominated, right? Like, you don't actually have to be a judge to be on the Supreme Court, for as fucking weird as that is, right?
You just got to be nominated, and you have to not be accused of rape and not drink beer when you're in high school, it turns out. Don't drink beer when you're in high school. It's going to be a serious issue for you, it turns out.
and the person I want Trump to nominate, only because I want to watch the political shitstorm to follow. So this is purely a football thing, right? Ann Coulter.
Oh my god, that would be amazing. I would love that forever. Holy shit. She'd refuse. She'd be like, fuck you, I don't want to be on your court, you fucking non-wall building cunt. Like, she just...
Yeah, I don't even care if she's
just fucking double down. She would just fucking make a big thing about, like, rejecting it, just because she knows she wouldn't win. She'd just, like, make a thing. She'd write a fucking book. It'd be phenomenal. It'd be great.
Just the political fallout from that would be great. Like, all these leftists would absolutely go fucking nuts.
Dude, I told my mom that I think I'm adopted and that Ann Coulter is my real mom, and she said, yeah, Ann Coulter is my real mom, too.
She's my hero. Like, I'm not even joking.
She's the best. She's the best.
Like, because...
the president, as a Democrat.
See, what it is, like, a friend of mine, in real life, this was a couple of years ago. He drew a lot of similarities between Ann Coulter and I. And he's like, you're like a tranny Ann Coulter. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, like, you're completely tone deaf. You'll say just whatever's on your mind and exactly how it's on your mind. Like, because how this started, I was at a gay club with this guy and we were just like friends, right? Hanging out. And this guy comes up to me, or he came up to him, and then my friend wasn't interested in him. And he got all like butthurt about it, right? like he just started acting like an asshole. And my friend's like came up to me. He's like, this guy's like fucking going crazy on me. And I said, oh. And when I get drunk, like the filter's off, right? And I said, hey, how about you leave my friend alone? And he came at me with this very thick, like maybe Mexican, maybe like Central American accent, you know? And I said, how long you been here? And he's like, fucking, oh, I've been here. Like, he said something like 6 months, you know? And I said, well, here's what you need to do. You need to get back on the boat and go back to wherever the fuck it is you came from and leave my friend alone, right? And like 6 people in the bar heard this, and like I'm shit-faced. I have no idea what I just, well, I mean, I know what I said, but I didn't mean to word it like that per se. And he went and told the bartender. And the bartender comes out.
Bartender on you. He tattled on the ball. What a pussy. What a fucking.
And
pussy.
he's like, there's a racist trainee out there. I don't know what he said, right? And then the bartender comes. Now, mind you, I've been going to this bar for like 4 years. Like, I know all the bartenders. I know the bartenders' names, or like their boyfriends' names, or their girlfriends' names, whatever the situation is, right? And they came out and they said, what happened? And I said, well, I told him to get back on a boat and get the fuck out of my country, basically. And he goes, would it hurt you to just have a little bit of tact? And I said, no. And then my friend overheard all this and he goes, she's like a trans Ann Coulter. And I was like,
Tran Coulter. And
I was like, wait a minute. You motherfuckers are right. Like, it was completely on accident because, like, what just started.
Whoa, thank you.
Like, the best thing, I fell in love with. I'll tell you the moment when I fell in love with Ann Coulter. This was like 2013, and there was this, like, they had this talk show, and there was like this room was just filled with single mothers, right?
I know the video you're talking about. It's amazing. That's my favorite moment too. Holy shit.
And she gets on the stage and she said, you would all be doing your children a favor if you put them up for adoption. Every last one of you. I was like, what? Like, what kind of balls does it take to get on a stage full of single mothers and tell them that they're all fucking worthless and give their kids away?
Oh my god.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, dude, yeah, that entire like clip, that entire segment, was just, like, because what happened was like the host was like really uncomfortable by what she was saying, right? So he kept trying to like give her an out, being like, "No, you're not saying this. You don't mean to imply," and she would just keep doubling down every fucking time. Yeah. So it was just like a 1-2 fucking punch, just over and over again. It was just like this beautiful irony that he was trying to damage control. But like it's Ann Coulter. It's Ann Coulter. Yeah. You're not gonna get 80% Ann Coulter. You're gonna get 100% Ann Coulter, and then you're gonna get 200% Ann Coulter, and then 300%. That's how it works. Like,
yeah, she did an interview with like somebody from MSNBC, and she's like, "Women need to lose the right to vote." She goes, "If women didn't vote, Democrats wouldn't have won an election ever." Damn. She said no Truman, no FDR, no, and she just went down the list, right?
God.
No Clinton, no. She said
it. Dude, man, no FDR alone, like that alone, just fucking does it for me. I had a meme I shared recently. It was like, women get the right to vote and prohibition, and it's just like, why is that true? Like, I'm so, why does that have to be true? And you know, the only men who voted for prohibition were just like fucking cucks who were just like doing what their wives fucking wanted.
Yeah, I mean,
like the total reverse narrative of like, women are just gonna do what their fucking husbands tell them to do. It's like, no, that's the men. The men are the pussies. That's like the history of humans. Their pimp has been too weak for too long.
Yeah, no, it's actually kind of. The men who voted for prohibition were basically the beta cucks of the 1910s.
They were, because it was all based on like a domestic violence style of argument. It was like OG fucking Duluth model bullshit, and like they fucking fell for it because all of the worst men believe in all that rhetoric, you know, because they don't want to believe it about themselves, and it gives them an outlet to project it onto all of men so that they feel superior to these other men. It feels like it's like makes sense because that's like how their fucked up brains work. But then normal men are just like, no, that's not how I think. This is all bullshit. And then they say, oh, well, that's what you would say if you were a toxic male. Like,
Yeah.
And like that's what we've been seeing this entire fucking time. And then you have all these women who are just like pointing out like, well, men have not stepped up or whatever. And it's like, yeah, because men are like they're cucks. They're stupid fucking cucks. And like men are men's worst enemy.
No, and like
I totally right, you know.
And I think Turd Flinging Monkey's right on this point too. Like, it's bad enough that it's just women. And I think this is why the MRAs are ultimately never going to get anywhere. Because you're not just voting against, like, the feminist elite, right? And just women in general. But you also have the beta cucks on their side. Like,
It's all the white knights. The white knights are the enablers. The white knights are the kind of enforcers of the whole system.
Yep.
Really, they're kind of like the independent voters. You know, like you have like men versus women, and then like all of the white knight beta cuck males are in like the independent thing, and they all like defect from the male side to the females.
Yeah, it's
creepy how well that fits. It's creepy how well that fits. I don't like it. I don't like it.
And I think this is why the MRA movement. This is why I think the MRA movement is number one doomed to fail, and why they never got anything accomplished, and why the gay men's movement have gotten more done for men's rights than the men's rights fucking movement.
Yeah, it's almost like you need to start at intersectionality and then work our way outwards. So it's almost like you need the gay men's movement and you need a black men's movement, right? You need all these different like subcategories of men's movements to start to work and to gain traction, and then to eventually maybe coalesce into a larger men's movement. And then to move backwards, like towards a larger men's movement, which is like, what a really fucked up way to have to go about things. Like because like, for example, like on my channel, I don't focus on gay issues. It's not my thing. And like, I don't really try to personalize things about myself. I try to like look at things and give the perspective as I see it in a way that could be universal, that like anybody could say, yeah, I think that's true. I want to say this too. And then to like, at some level, kind of like let my own personality come through such that people see like, here's this weird person who thinks these things, and like my personality is the opposite of what these views are. Like I shouldn't think what I think based on my personality. Like I should be a soy boy. Like I should be a feminist fucking cuck. Like I should be these things based on my like social personal indicators, but then I defy the expectation. And like that's kind of been my approach for the last couple of years. But like it's almost like you need to have that strong personal story and that personal identifier, but I don't like that. And you get that like there's a reason not to like that, because it feels like we're just kind of, you know, it's kind of endorsing that entire approach by engaging in it.
Well, I mean
it comes down to the truth though. It's like if you're right, then your approach ultimately doesn't really matter. So you can use SJW tactics if you're right. And that's like my kind of controversial stance on it. Like I'm not like anti-SJW in the sense that like their tactics are wrong. Sometimes their tactics aren't practicable, but like if their points were correct, they would be totally justified.
Yeah. I mean just on adoption alone, the gay men's movement have done way more than the MRA movement has. I don't think the MRA movement has ever gotten anything fucking accomplished.
I mean, there have been some big strides. Like the Red Pill movement, the Red Pill movie, it has made a big difference. And you see it also in feminist rhetoric. Now what they do is they use the men's rights movement as a scapegoat so that they can backtrack and say men's issues are important. So like now they have to at least give lip service and at least do some minimal amount to address men's issues, which is more than men's issues have ever had before. But they only have to do this because of the men's rights movement. So like there's sort of two narratives of it, right? Because like if you look at the men's rights movement in the mainstream, they constantly get demonized, but it's because like they're the tanks. Like they provoked all this ire and they're taking all of the heat. But maybe in light of that, we're going to see like more and more feminists are cautious, and they have to, insofar as they're going to go about their narrative, they have to at least find ways to be a little bit conscientious. And I know that's fucking nothing. Like I hate that as like an MRA, you're expected to celebrate every fucking retarded, mundane little victory. You know, like I just think that the MRM is sitting on a winning hand, and they just don't want to play the hand because it's too mean.
Yeah. I mean,
but like MGTOW, they really are making a huge difference, and that's why it kills me when I see people in the MRM going after MGTOW, because like MGTOW is giving men a way to get their freedoms back without asking permission from anyone else. They can just do it. They can just do this and just have this freedom and just like have this knowledge, and it can actually create like a kind of a more of a space for
I mean, I know,
to, you know, win in the long run.
I know MGTOW's like despised when I say this, but MGTOW has the makings of a men's sexual liberation movement.
No, totally. MGTOW is what like essentially first wave feminism kind of was supposed to be, which was this idea that it's just a rejection of the gender role. And basically, like, had feminism been about equality, MGTOW would have been a part of it. Like, all these women would have been like, hey, men, like, you can go MGTOW. Like, that would have been a part of the narrative immediately. But instead, they wanted to create a narrative where they could keep men, you know, subservient and use men as their tax slaves in order to get more benefits and more resources for them. So, you know, really the true egalitarian perspective starts with recognizing kind of like the in theory basic underpinnings of feminism, which is women's liberation, but then also coupling it with MGTOW. And a lot of egalitarians are too much of a pussy to endorse MGTOW as part of their perspective.
No, I think there's a fundamental flaw in egalitarianism. And it's one that
men and women aren't the same. They're not the same.
No, well, that's what I'm getting at. Like, equality, I'm sorry to say it, is a myth. I'm sorry to say it. It's a myth. It will always be a myth. Like, the closest you're ever going to get equality is equality before the law. And, oh, hey, by the way, we as a species still managed to fuck that up. Right?
Right.
And that's the closest you're ever going to get to equality. But, like, just because the inherent differences between us, like, equality is impossible. Like, I could wake up tomorrow morning and shoot basketballs and dribble and all that other shit. And I could do that for 40 fucking years, right? But you'll never see my 5'4" ass on a basketball team in the NBA. Why is that? Well, because, yeah, basketball, there is a number of skills, but, sorry, talent plays into it.
No, yeah, like, I mean, part of it, though, is, like, when people, the issue is that people want, you know, the equality of the outcome, right? If people could just accept equality under the law and that this is going to naturally lead to unequal outcomes, we'd be fine, you know? And in that sense, when egalitarians strictly limit themselves to that standard, it's fine. You know, it's wanting the equality of outcome to happen that leads to this paradox. And part of it is that basically we've allowed this sort of like this racism of the gaps style of arguments. We've let them, you know, pervade everything. We've let that take over the entire overwhelming consciousness. Like, look at the number of people who, like, for example, they think that it's wrong for someone to be allowed to refuse service based on sex or based on race. Mm-hmm. You know, this is a basic civil right. You have the right to property. You have the right to refuse service. It's that simple. It doesn't need to be complicated any further, you know? If you're against the civil rights movement, then, like, you're this crazy extremist, right? And people use it as, like, they think it's a one-move checkmate against libertarians. They think, like, oh, well, under your paradigm, like, you can just put a sign that says no Muslims or Jews allowed on your bakery. And I'm like, yeah. Like, that's not a problem. That's a feature. That's a good thing. That's a good thing of capitalism. it doesn't necessarily have to be like an aesthetically good thing. Like maybe I prefer the bakery that's open to everyone because like we don't need to fucking politicize our fucking cupcakes. But apparently we do. Apparently we do. So
I mean,
like, go ahead.
Not only property, but you also have the right to association.
Yeah, exactly. It's the forced association movement. That's the proper term for it. It's not civil rights. It's forced association. And people who want to defend it, they should have to defend it on those grounds. I should, be able to say, why do you support forced association? Most of them won't. Most of them won't have the spine to try to, defend it on those grounds.
Because in Colorado, not too long ago, there was this cake decorator or something that wouldn't make a cake for a gay wedding or something. I forget the exact.
He said multiple cases. Now there's a new one where he wouldn't make a cake for some trannies for a trans issue or something. And it's you deliberately sought him out because you knew he was the same baker from the gay wedding controversy. And there's no accountability there. And it's insane. It's absolutely insane. Why would you seek him out to try to give him your money? Why are you trying to? You're forcing him to take your money at gunpoint, and you think he's the crazy person.
And people are like, "Oh, what do you think of? What did you think about this, this?" And I'm like, "Look, I think this guy ultimately has the right to associate with whoever he wants. I don't think it's a very wise business move what he's doing." But hey, it's his shit. He wants to run it like that. I don't care. Right? I just don't care. And it's in Denver, right? So there's tons of cake decorators. So spare me the lecture about, well, what if everybody did that? Right? Well, I'm sorry. I'm not going to engage in your slippery slope fallacy because there's going to be a cake decorator that sees a market and he'll be like, you know what? I'll make some gay cakes.
Yeah.
And it's just,
and it's just a basic ignorance of the way markets work. That if there's a market for something, it increases the value of it. And if people are willing to go through these lengths to hassle a fucking Christian baker to make their shit for them, clearly they'd be willing to just pay a little bit of money to have somebody who wants to make it, who's is going to actually be supportive of them and actually want that.
Well, and that's here's the part that blows my mind. Why would you make someone make you a cake? There's a saying where I'm from, right? There's people you never piss off. You never piss off anybody that handles your money. You never piss off somebody that handles your food. And you never piss off anybody that handles your health.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, that's why I've said, I hope those fuckers poison the goddamn cake.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously not going to go to that length because of the repercussions. But then also the other part of it, too, isn't just the negative aspect. It's you're getting married. It's your wedding. It's a really special time. You're going to have everyone there. You want it to be this really special thing, why do you want the cake that you had to twist someone's arm into making? You should want as much as possible every single person who's involved to be someone who's a really yeah, they should be excited about it. Why do you want that to be part of the whole legacy of your wedding? And that's a permanent thing. That's everybody knows biting into that cake. Oh, this is the cake that caused a huge political shitstorm. And it's it's because their wedding is a political prop. Their wedding isn't a real wedding. It's a fucking sham. And it just proves the conservative narrative that gay marriages are fake, Well,
and this is what I think it is. This was a gay couple and now a tranny couple that just had a political axe to grind. That's all this is about. And
yeah,
I dare any of these fucking LGBT activists to try to tell me it's otherwise. It's anything but that. It's just a political axe to grind. It's just a political witch hunt. That's all it is. And that's best case scenario. Worst case scenario, this is someone trying to get money by suing somebody.
Right. No, that's it. That's kind of the nail on the head. I mean, I guess the positive side is that they can ruin their own wedding, but they can't ruin Christmas. They tried to ruin Christmas. They tried to fuck with Rudolph. They tried to fuck Baby It's Cold Outside. You know, they tried to make Santa a woman. No. God can be a woman. You know, you can have God. God can be a woman. You cannot have Santa Claus. Santa Claus is a man, and he's a fat man. And also, you can't take that from fat people either. So there.
You know what?
It's immune.
Santa Claus is not a man. He's a masculine presenting transgender lesbian.
There we go. You know what? That's gonna keep him extra safe. So
yeah,
that's okay. Yeah, he's a masculine presenting transgender lesbian.
So if anybody tries to accuse him of rape, he could be like,
You're a misogynist, you're a homophobe, and you're a transphobe all at the same time. Boom. Yep. Bam. Crucify him with that.
I'd be like, I'm a masculine presenting transgender lesbian. Let me throw some glitter at you. Be quiet.
Yeah, that's right. If only it were that easy. I wish I could just keep some glitter in my pocket. Be like, I'm gay. Here's some glitter. Bam. You have to shut the fuck up now.
Yeah.
It's like sex bots are the future. It's not promoting rape culture.
Well, no. I've talked to my boyfriend into telling the world that, like, if he gets like hit with some BS like sexual harassment thing, I've told him. I said I explained it to him. He's like, that's actually kind of brilliant. I'm like, yeah, it is. So like, if you ever get like any kind of bullshit at work, just tell him that you're a masculine presenting transgender lesbian.
Well, that reminds me, actually, there was a story about, it was an M to F tranny and an F to M tranny who, like, got married or whatever, and how happy it was, and it's like, didn't they just find, like, the most complicated way to be straight?
The most roundabout way?
Yeah, you're right. That's why it's funny. It's like so many like things with gayness and trans. Like, if once you start stacking them too much, it's like, oh, so you're just straight again. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm all about, like I said, do whatever makes you happy. As long as I ain't got to pay for it, I don't care.
You know, if you need to do some genital feng shuiing, do it. You know, whatever gets the water energy flowing in the right way. You know, just don't fuck with cakes and don't fuck with Christmas because that shit's sacred.
Well, see, I'm not even a Christmas person, right? I'm a
Are you a solstice person? You're a solstice person?
No, I'm a Halloween person.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Halloween is sacred too.
You want to know why I like Halloween and I pretty much can't stand any other holiday? Halloween is the only holiday that is purposefully and intentionally pretentious.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
all
true.
the other holidays are pretentious, but we all like to pretend that they're not, right?
Yeah.
Complete random strangers coming up to you going, Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays or blah, blah, blah. I'm like, motherfucker, you don't give a shit about me. Like,
you don't fucking care about me.
Like, get the fuck away from me, right? But at least Halloween, the whole point of Halloween is to dress up and be something that you're not, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's
like
the fraud is all central to it, so it's immune to accusations of fraud.
Yeah. Whereas, so Halloween is the most honest holiday. It is the most honest holiday.
That's nothing can take it away from that. I have a similar love for the 4th of July. Not so much the same way, because, like, you know, there's stuff about 4th of July. It's important. I don't want to finish that. But, like, there's no expectation, really, with 4th of July. Like, if you have just kind of, like, a normal 4th of July, it's just kind of whatever. You'll walk around. You'll see a couple of fireworks in the sky at some point. Maybe you just eat a hot dog. You know, and that's good. That's your nice, like, American, whatever, 4th of July. Or you could have, like, your big 4th of July where you got time off and you're up somewhere and you're, like, you know, doing all this shit. You know, it's kind of like a holiday that, like, perfectly lets itself be as big or as small as you want it. You can do whatever you want. It can be a family thing. It can be a friend thing. You know, and it's just, like, it's not so imposing as other holidays are. And that really is appropriate to this whole overall spirit of just freedom, you know? Mm-hmm. So, and so that's why I've always loved 4th of July personally. Because like I feel like so many holidays they just have all this pressure behind them of like, oh, it just has to be perfect, you know, you have to prepare for it and whatever. And like for me this year, I'm kind of like reclaiming Christmas in the spirit of 4th of July because it's just by myself. I'm just doing my own little thing by myself, and I'm happy about that. I really like this Christmas so far. You know, I got my little tree, I got my little ornaments, you know, and I got myself a little present on Steam that I'm gonna play later. And I got drinking some bum wine, and I have caviar potato chips.
And then you can go down to the bar and have your gaydar fucked up and watch Chinese boys dance to.
I know, right? All these Chinese boys just are designed to fuck up your gaydar.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're Westerners. Look at us grind together. Oh goodness. All right. Well, Spaceman, I do have to go. My boyfriend will be home any minute, and I want to do the boyfriend thing with him. So
do the boyfriend thing. That is fair. Well, it was lovely having you on here. And yeah, I'll see you when I see you.
Okay.
And have a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, you too. And anytime you want to do a live stream, just send me a link.
Hell yeah! Sounds like a plan.
All right. Talk to you later.